Chapter 101. Sea Beasts. Endless sea beasts stretched to the bottom of the sea as far as the eye could see. Countless sea beasts that were adept at controlling water raised monstrous waves, constantly crashing against the towering sea breeze fortress on the shore, causing dozens of kilometers around the sea breeze fortress to become a swamp. The sea breeze fortress itself was like a reef standing in the middle of a tsunami, tenaciously and firmly defending. It seemed like it would be crushed by the next wave at any time. Why are there so many sea beasts? There are probably no less than tens of thousands of sea beasts here, right? That's a kraken, a class 3 dire beast at the spirit beast level. And there are actually 4 of them. Oh my god, is there a beast tide outbreak? And the target of this beast tide outbreak is actually our dragon whale island? Uncontrollable exclamations came from the warship. Alright, enough nonsense, get ready for battle. Wu Yu stared at the sea breeze fortress that was almost drowned by the sea beasts with a solemn expression and shouted. After witnessing the tragic battle in the sea breeze fortress, he finally understood why the Castellan actually summoned the last batch of forces from North Sea City to the sea breeze fortress. The entire sea breeze fortress was in imminent danger now. If there were no reinforcements, it would be completely destroyed in 1 or 2 days at most. Even if there were reinforcements, they would only be able to hold on for 6 or 7 days from 1 or 2 days. Speaking of repelling the sea beasts, looking at the countless sea beasts outside the fortress, Wu Yu's scalp tingled. Be careful. Sea-winged serpents. At this moment, a true energy realm martial artist shouted in horror from the deck. Among the sea beasts below, snake-like creatures that were more than 10 meters long and had thin wings suddenly shot out like arrows from a bow, heading straight for the battleship that had yet to land in the void. The sea-winged serpents were a type of spiritual beast. It was said that they had a trace of the sacred beasting serpent's bloodline in their bodies. Their catapult ability was amazing, and they could shoot up to 1,000 meters in the air. Moreover, their wings had a certain ability to stay in the air. As long as they reached adulthood, they would have the combat power of Immortal level 1, which was equivalent to a Class 1 sea beast. There were hundreds of sea-winged serpents that shot out from the sea beasts. Most of them had reached adulthood, and there were some Class 2 and even Class 3 high-ranking sea-winged serpents. Be careful. 2 Rank 3 sea-winged serpents. I'll deal with one of them. As for the other one, Su Guowei, you take some people to surround it. Everyone else, attack the other sea-winged serpents. Those below the awakening realm, use the crossbows and cannons. We can't let them destroy our warship. Tell the control room to prepare for a forced landing. Wu Yu hastily ordered. Yes. The many guards who received the order responded loudly and quickly went about their duties. Returning Cloud, Reflection, Zhou Xianyin, the 5 of you, follow me. Su Guowei and Su Zhongming loudly shouted and called 5 true Qi realm martial artists to rush towards the 3rd order spirit beast. Rank 3 spirit beasts, their 3 attributes are equivalent to humans who have cultivated spirit grade aura Qi. However, compared to spirit beasts with lower intelligence, humans are proficient in divine armors, sword and fist techniques. In a battle of the same rank, a spirit refining cultivator who has cultivated spirit grade aura Qi can easily defeat a rank 3 spirit beast. But 6 true Qi realm martial artists, even if 6 true Qi realm martial artists formed a battle formation, it would still be extremely dangerous for them to face a rank 3 spirit beast. As long as they were hit by the sea-winged serpent, they would inevitably suffer serious injuries. If they were not careful, they might even lose their lives. Many true Qi realm and awakening realm martial artists rushed towards the sea-winged serpents that were ejected onto the warship. Many mortal realm martial artists also quickly controlled the crossbows and cannons and began to shoot towards the incoming sea-winged serpents. However, the crossbows and cannons were inconvenient to change direction, and the cannons' firing speed was slow. The effect was not significant, and there were still sea-winged serpents that rushed onto the warship. If they fell into an area with an awakening realm martial artist, they would be able to resist. However, If they fell into a group of mortal realm martial artists, these sea-winged serpents would immediately set off a bloody massacre. The number is too many. Especially the rank 3 spirit beasts, there are at least 80 or 90 of them. After killing a rank 1 sea-winged serpent, Xing Hui took the time to look at the densely packed group of spirit beasts below the warship. 80 or 90 rank 3 spirit beasts were equivalent to 80 or 90 spirit refining realm martial artists. Even if spirit beasts and sea beasts were weaker than humans, to face such a lineup, there would at least be 30 or 40 spirit refining realm martial artists. But according to his observation, there were only 8 spirit refining realm martial artists in Beihai City. Among them, the mayor of Beihai City, the monk, and Wu Yu, who did not participate in the Battle of Haifeng Fortress. In this kind of battlefield, if I only reveal my true Qi realm cultivation, it would be difficult to protect myself. Xing Hui looked for a moment, and the true Qi attached to the sword suddenly became incomparably hot. Seeing that the rank 3 spirit beast sent Yun Gue flying and smashing a wooden barrel on the deck, Xing Hui no longer hesitated. Like a meteor, he rushed in front of the spirit beast. The spirit beast sensed the danger and reacted quickly. However, Xing Hui's sneak attack was equivalent to a sneak attack. When he attacked, he had already calculated all the changes of the spirit beast. With one sword, he sealed all the escape routes of the spirit beast and brazenly pierced into the head of the rank 3 sea-winged serpent. Qi! Blood splattered. In the next moment, the blazing scarlet yang true Qi burst out from Xing Hui's body and surged along the sword into the head of the sea-winged serpent. Before the rank 3 sea-winged serpent could let out a scream, the insides of its head were burned to ashes. A large amount of blazing flames mixed with surging heat waves and fresh blood burst out, shocking Su Zhongming, Ying Zhao, Zhou Xianin, and the rest who were surrounding the sea-winged serpent. Xing Hui nodded towards Su Zhongming and did not say anything. His figure flew and in a blink of an eye, he killed another rank 2 sea-winged serpent that had fallen into the group of martial artists. Although the scarlet yang true Qi was overbearing and blazing, it was not weak in terms of speed. Man and sword as one, it was as if he had turned into a resplendent stream of light and directly collided with the rank 2 sea-winged serpent. Flames burst out, and the 14 to 15 meter long sea-winged serpent was beheaded by his sword. The huge serpent head fell to the ground, and before the blood could spurt out, it was already burnt by the flames. Seeing this scene, Su Zhongming, who was still in shock, came back to his senses and immediately widened his eyes. That's Xing Hui King. Ying Zhao, Zhou Xianin, and the others also surrounded him. It's Xing Hui King hiss. What an overbearing and tyrannical true Qi. In front of Xing Hui King, the rank 2 sea-winged serpent could not even last one round. Moreover, Xing Hui King is using true Qi and not earth Qi, right? The power of his true Qi is actually so astonishing. Ordinary true Qi, or even spirit-grade true Qi, would not be able to reach such a level. Could it be saint-grade true Qi? Zhou Xianin widened his eyes. Saint-grade true Qi. Just these 4 words once again shook everyone's brain. Cultivators from overseas have always pursued realms. Just like a divine-grade true Qi cultivator, even if he had just succeeded in cultivating divine-grade true Qi, he would still be able to win against an ordinary true Qi cultivator. But once the ordinary true Qi cultivator breaks through to the spirit-refining realm, the situation would be completely reversed. As for the difficulty of cultivation, cultivating divine-grade true Qi was obviously more difficult than cultivating Qi into earth Qi. Under such circumstances, the number of true Qi cultivators on Dragon Whale Island who had cultivated divine-grade true Qi could be counted with one's fingers. And now there was another Xing Hui. Xing Hui revealed the power of his scarlet yang true Qi and wantonly rampaged through the horde of beasts. In addition, he had a rank 3 divine weapon from Luli Island in his hand. With the combination of the two, ordinary rank 1 and rank 2 sea-winged serpents were simply not his opponents and were easily killed by him. His killing efficiency was comparable to more than half of the people on the warship. Such a stunning performance naturally fell into the eyes of Wu Yu, who was fighting with the rank 3 sea-winged serpent. His eyes immediately lit up. Good. Like I said, to be able to withstand the corrosion of divine-grade true qi, how bad would the quality of true qi in his body be? I was guessing that Xing Hui King might have cultivated divine-grade true qi. However, with his loose cultivator background, cultivating divine-grade true qi was too inconceivable. It was hard for me to believe. Now, it seems that it was true. Divine-grade true qi, not only has it reached divine-grade true qi, but from the blazing and overbearing might of this true qi it is at least at the small success stage, and might even be at the great success stage. Without a real confrontation, it would be very difficult for ordinary people to sense the true quality of the other party's true qi. They could only make a deduction based on its might. Although Tsing Hui's Scarlet Yang true qi was not at the small success stage, but with the aura of the Golden Crow true qi, its might was no weaker than that of a great success stage true qi. Thus, Wu Yu's judgment could be said to be very accurate. Xing Hui King, lend me a hand. Let's work together and kill this sea-winged serpent. Okay. Xing Hui killed more than a dozen rank 1 and rank 2 sea-winged serpents. After slightly relieving the pressure on the deck, he no longer wasted his strength on ordinary sea-winged serpents. Immediately, he flew up like a shooting star and instantly arrived behind the rank 3 sea-winged serpent. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wu Yu's true qi erupted. Even if his true qi was not sharp and fierce, and was not good at fighting, it still suppressed the rank 3 sea-winged serpent that wanted to struggle fiercely. Xing Hui took the opportunity to behead the sea-winged serpent. Good sword. Wu Yu's gaze lingered on the sword in Xing Hui's hand for a while. He smiled and said, I didn't expect Xing Hui King to have this kind of ability, to be able to cultivate divine-grade true qi. I was wrong. Manager Wu, you flatter me. Now is not the time to talk. Let's kill the other sea-winged serpents first. Okay. Wu Yu nodded seriously, and the two of them once again joined the battle. With the two spirit-refining cultivators attacking, more than half of the sea-winged serpents were quickly killed. The other sea-winged serpents also sensed the danger and jumped off the warship to escape. In this regard, those who did not dare to ride their flying beasts and fight with the sea-winged serpents could only watch as they returned to the army of sea beasts. Recharge the cannons. Aim at the rank 3 sea-winged serpents and use half of the spirit origin stones we brought. Boom. Kill as many as you can. After chasing away the sea-winged serpents, Wu Yu relied on the warship's advantage in the air and quickly gave the order. In a moment, the 6 cannons on the warship emitted a strong energy fluctuation. After charging, they shot out dazzling light towards the rank 3 sea-winged serpents. The sound of violent explosions immediately resounded outside Sea Breeze Fortress. Chapter 102. Rumble. The 6 cannons bombarded the warship for more than 10 minutes, consuming more than half of the spirit stones on the warship. Depending on the number and grade of energy stones used, the giant spirit cannons could unleash a power equivalent to a rank 1 to rank 3 expert's full-strength attack. Just now, Wu Kuang had unleashed his full power. Every shot was equivalent to a spirit-refining expert's full-strength attack. Naturally, the sea beasts were covered in blood, and the number of sea beasts that died directly or indirectly was no less than 100. Compared to the speed of humans, this kind of war machine was the true harvester of life. When the warship had consumed more than half of the spirit stones, there was no longer any meaning for the warship to stay in the void. Immediately, they stopped at a simple and dilapidated port at the top of Sea Breeze Fort. This spaceport built in Sea Breeze Fortress was relatively small and could only accommodate 8 warships. Currently, 6 warships were docked here, but without exception, all of them were damaged and broken. One of them was even on the verge of breaking down, and whether or not it could fly back to the blue sky was a problem. Although Tsing Hui's warship was damaged by the sea-winged serpent's attack, and there were even large holes on the deck, it could still be considered the best among the warships. Elder Wu. As soon as the warship docked, a man whose armor was stained with blood led a group of people to welcome them. He was one of the vice-captains of the Dragon Eagle Squad, Eagle Wing. Let's cut to the chase. You've already seen the situation outside the fortress. There are already 3 holes in the southern wall, and a section of the western wall has also collapsed. Those sea monsters can attack Sea Breeze Fortress at any time. Once we lose the geographical advantage of Sea Breeze Fortress, I'm afraid that all of us here will die here. Therefore, I'll immediately reorganize the people you brought with you and send them to the front lines. As for you, come with me to see the city lord. Okay. Wu Yu nodded without hesitation. At the same time, he waved his hand to the people behind him. Naturally, there would be people who would lead them to the perilous defensive position. However, after a while, he seemed to have thought of something. Xing Hui, stay behind. We will go see the city lord together. Xing Hui nodded but did not say anything. On the other hand, the eagle wing looked at Xing Hui in surprise. He didn't know why Wu Yu would allow a true energy realm guest elder to attend such a high-level meeting. Eagle Wing, you've already arrived at the Sea Breeze Fort a month ago. Have you investigated why so many sea beasts are charging towards our Sea Breeze Fort one after another? On the other hand, the number of sea beasts in the other cities is less than 1/10 of ours. Eldest Miss has already sent people to investigate, but they only know that these sea beasts want to go up the Dragon Roaring River and head inland. They haven't found anything else. The Dragon Roaring River is the largest river in our Dragon Whale country. If the sea beasts really enter the Dragon Roaring River from here, the thousands of kilometers along the way will definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. The Eagle Wing said and shook his head. Although we haven't found out the reason why these sea beasts want to go to the Dragon Song River, we can confirm that there is a lord behind these sea beasts who is urging them to attack our Dragon Whale Kingdom. Lord. Wu Yu's expression suddenly became serious. The number of sea beasts attacking our Sea Breeze Fort has already reached 30 to 40,000. There are close to 100 rank 3 sea beasts. If there is a lord behind these sea beasts, it's either a rank 3 sacred beast or a rank 4 sea beast. Rank 4 sea beasts are still manageable. If it's a rank 3 sacred beast, then we're in big trouble. A rank 3 sacred beast is only a cub. There must be a mature sacred beast behind it. And a mature sacred beast, the weakest one, is equivalent to a rank 7 sacred beast. If it's an outstanding one with a powerful bloodline, it won't be difficult for it to grow into a sacred beast, or even a dominator of the sea or a supreme beast. Have you asked for help from the nearby cities? It's useless, it's not just our Sea Breeze Fort. All the places with coastal rivers on the Dragon Whale Island have been attacked. It's just that those places are not as strong as our Sea Breeze Fort. But in this way, those forts have an excuse to refuse to provide us with reinforcements. What did the king say? He sent 3 envoys. Yesterday, when the sea beasts attacked, 1 died, 1 was injured, and 1 escaped. The Eagle Wing's expression was unsightly. In the end, he added in a mocking tone, of course, when he said that 1 escaped, he used the excuse of reporting the situation to the king. As they spoke, the 3 of them had already arrived at the tower at the front of the fort. At the tower, Dan Tating's body was also covered in blood. It was obvious that at this crucial moment, even he, the city lord, had to personally go down to fight with the sea beasts. Other than Dan Tating, there were a few true chi and spirit refining cultivators present. What surprised Xing Hui was that even Dan Taiyu was present. Seeing Xing Hui's arrival, Dan Taiyu even gave him a playful wink as a greeting. Wu Yu, you've come at the right time. Seeing Wu Yu, Dan Tating nodded his head solemnly. However, when he saw Xing Hui behind Wu Yu, he was somewhat puzzled, but he did not say anything. Since Xing Hui was brought here by Wu Yu, he naturally had his reasons. Tan Tai Ting immediately opened up a river map. Sea Breeze Fortress is not easy to defend. If we continue to defend it, not to mention that the walls of Sea Breeze Fortress can withstand a few waves of attacks from the sea beasts, even our guards won't be able to hold on for much longer without rest. We have to let some sea beasts enter Dragon Chant River. On one hand, we need to follow the sea beasts to see what they're planning. On the other hand, we need to lengthen the battle line, allowing us to have a certain amount of space. Let the sea beasts enter the dragon chant river. Wu Yu's face changed greatly. Once we open the river gate, it will not be easy to close it again. If we're not careful, those sea beasts will swarm in, and at that time, the river is different from the sea. In the sea beasts can control the water to fight, and their battle strength is fierce. However, in the river, although the water is also torrential, it is not as abundant as the sea. If we can think of a way to lure them to the river bank, their strength will be reduced, and it will be much easier for us to deal with them. During this time, I have already evacuated all the residents within 300 kilometers of the Dragon Chant River. As long as we ensure that the battlefield is controlled within 300 kilometers, it won't cause too much of a disaster. Speaking till here, Dan Tating's tone slightly paused. Now, the most important tasks are three. First, who will continue to guard Sea Breeze Fort? Second, who will be responsible for closing the river gate? Last, who will be responsible for leading the troops to kill those sea beasts that enter the Dragon Chant River? As you command, City Lord. Leave the task of leading the troops to kill those sea beasts that enter the Dragon Chant River to me. At this time, a slightly cold voice came from downstairs. Then, a woman with a ponytail, dressed in silver armor, and holding a long sword that was as tall as a person strode over. Although this woman was wearing a full body armor, it was not as delicate and beautiful as an ordinary woman wearing a long skirt. However, her body and face were exquisite, and she was tall and slender, filled with a kind of valiant and formidable aura. Eldest Miss. Seeing this woman, apart from Dan Tating, everyone in the room saluted at the same time. Even Wu Yu was no exception. Dan Tating. The eldest daughter of North Sea City's City Lord, Dan Tating. Among the three children, she was the only one who had cultivated to the spirit refining realm. Moreover, she had cultivated spirit rank Aura Chi. You are responsible for leading the troops to kill those sea beasts that enter the Dragon Chant River. Not bad. Dan Taiying's gaze swept across everyone and stopped on Xing Hui for a moment. However, his gaze quickly landed on Dan Tating again. Once the river gate is opened, it will be extremely difficult to close it again. Only the strongest among us have the hope of closing the river gate. In terms of cultivation, none of us can compare to you, Father. Thus, you are the best candidate to close the river gate. As for Haifeng Fortress, let Steward Wu take charge. Steward Wu's understanding of everyone is not weaker than any of us. It is not impossible for him to command the battle. I can't guarantee the number of sea beasts that enter the Dragon Chant River. It is too dangerous for you to go kill them. Other than me, there is no other suitable candidate. Dan Taiying said firmly, if Father is not at ease, send the eagle wing to me. With us two spirit refining cultivators, as long as we are careful, any sea beasts or spirit beasts can be killed. Let Dong Bo bring his team and go with you. In your team, there is also you, Both of my daughters are in there. I must ensure your safety. Dan Tating said and looked at Dan Taiyu. No need, closing the river gate is the most dangerous part of the plan. We only have 8 spirit refining cultivators here. Among them, Wang Fu is seriously injured and is unable to fight. That means there are only 7 people left. 7 people, excluding the 2 of us, there are only 5 left. The 5 of us have to guard Haifeng Fortress and open and close the river gate. Our manpower is already very tight. How can I bring Dong Bo along? But, as long as Father closes the river gate in time and does not let too many rank 3 spirit beasts in, we will not be in danger. Thus, the key is still on you. Before Dan Tating could speak, he was interrupted by Dan Taiying. At this time, Wu Yu suddenly said, let Xing Hui King and Big Mrs. team go together. Xing Hui King. Wu Yu's words made everyone's gaze fall on Xing Hui, the true Qi realm guest elder. Wu Kuang did not stop there either. He continued, the guest elder of Qing Su is only a true Qi cultivator, but he cultivates Saint-grade true Qi. According to my observations, his Saint-grade true Qi has already reached great mastery. His battle prowess is no weaker than any cultivator who has cultivated Qi and formed energy. With the guest elder of Qing Su, your group will be equivalent to having 3 great spirit refining cultivators. Your safety will be guaranteed. Is this true? Large success Holy Grade Qi. N. As soon as Wu Yu finished speaking, Dan Taiying and Dan Tating were moved. Even Dan Taiyu looked at Xing Hui in surprise. She had only managed to cultivate Saint Grade True Qi by chance, so her progress after that was extremely slow. On the other hand, not only had Qing Su cultivated Saint Grade True Qi, he had even reached great accomplishment and great perfection. If he could take another step forward and condense Saint Grade True Qi, his future was limitless. Absolutely true. Wu Yu said seriously. Good. Tan Tai Ting agreed heavily. Guest elder of Qing Su, if you and my 2 daughters can return safely, I will promote you to an upper guest elder of North Sea City. You will be free to read all the records in the city, and you will have the right to purchase some of the precious resources on Dragon Whale Island. I will do my best. Xing Hui nodded slightly. His golden crow chi had just formed and needed to be tempered by actual combat. There is no time to lose. Let's go and prepare to let the sea beasts enter the river. Chapter 103. Sea Breeze Fort was in a critical situation and could not be delayed. The group did not dare to delay and quickly divided up the work and took their positions. Among them, Xing Hui followed Dan Taiying. Together with Dan Taiyu, the Eagle Wing, and 130 True Energy Realm and Awakening Realm experts, a total of 134 people went straight to the inland of Dragon Chant River. With Sea Breeze Fort as the center, the area within a radius of 50 to 60 kilometers had already been flooded by the monstrous waves caused by the sea beasts. It was impossible to defend, let alone fight and retreat at the same time. Fortunately, Dragon Chant River was 100 kilometers deep, and there was a line of defense similar to a dam. In addition to defending against the torrent, it could also block the fish that escaped from Sea Breeze Fort. However, compared to the Sea Breeze Fortress, the walls and defensive facilities of this place paled in comparison. There was only one defensive line, and there were only 6 arrow towers and a pitiful 1 cannon turret. Due to the crisis at the Sea Breeze Fortress, more than half of the garrison had been transferred to the Sea Breeze Fortress. There were less than 200 soldiers left, and the crossbows and spirit source stones could only last for 3 hours of battle. We don't have many people, so we need to finish the battle quickly. Dan Taiying assigned the task and looked at Dan Taiyu at the same time. You have awakened the bloodline of the winged dragon, so you are very sensitive to the flow of water. If these sea beasts really break through our line of defense, you should follow them and see what they are up to. At that time, you can act according to your discretion. Yes. Dan Taiyu replied seriously. She had coincidentally cultivated holy rank True Qi. Although her True Qi was just at the initial stage, in terms of combat power, she was not weaker than those veteran True Energy Realm experts. Xing Hui King, I'll leave your safety to you. Dan Taiying said and looked at Xing Hui at the end. Xing Hui nodded slightly. Immediately, Dan Taiying commanded the group again to build defensive fortifications. At the same time, he asked the Eagle Wing to lead the troops 30 kilometers upstream, planning to block the sea beasts layer by layer. Time passed quickly while everyone was preparing. Soon, half an hour had passed. Young miss, they're here. The first wave of sea beasts is about to arrive. Not long after, the voice of a true Qi realm cultivator who was in charge of watching from the front came from afar. At the same time, the sound of thousands of horses galloping could be heard. The Dragon Cry River was the largest river on the Dragon Whale Island, with an average width of 4 kilometers. Even though the dam was located in a relatively narrow area, it was still 2 kilometers wide. Many sea beasts rushed into the Dragon Cry River with torrential waves, causing huge waves that were dozens of meters tall to rise. If it wasn't for the fact that a lot of the water had overflowed and was diverted in other directions, these huge waves might even reach over 100 meters. Tan Tai-in looked at the monstrous waves before looking at the dam that was only 60 meters tall. She sighed and said, "Prepare for battle." Immediately, whether it was true Qi realm experts or ordinary soldiers, each and every one of them took up their positions with pale faces. Their faces were filled with fear as they looked towards the earth-shattering waves. Roar! Countless horrifying sea beasts were mixed in the waves, sweeping up the torrential waves and surging over. Finally, when the sea beasts arrived, the waves they had swept over crashed into the dam for the first time. For a moment, the entire earth seemed to shake violently. Countless waves burst forth and splashed into the air, forming pillars of water that were over 100 meters tall. In the face of this huge wave, more than half of the 60-meter-tall dam was instantly submerged. Countless sea beasts took the opportunity to rush up the dam with seawater and river water and wreak havoc. Kill! Everyone, it's time to serve the city lord. Behind us is the place where we grew up. If we retreat, our great home will be completely destroyed by these despicable vicious beasts. We can't allow that to happen. Fight! Fight to the death! All sorts of motivational roars came from the mouths of the crowd. Facing the sea beasts that pounced forward, many ordinary soldiers instantly erupted with astonishing courage. Using all sorts of war equipment, they quickly surrounded the sea beasts. Unfortunately, the difference between mortals and the awakening realm sea beasts was too great. Even if the sea beasts were slightly weaker than ordinary awakening realm cultivators, they were still not something that they could withstand. A single attack from a Type 1 sea beast was enough to take the lives of a few soldiers. If it wasn't for the fact that there were many defensive facilities here, the 200 soldiers would only need 4 or 5 Type 1 sea beasts to wipe them out. Tsing Hui's gaze searched through the sea beasts for a moment. In the next moment, he leaped forward. Billowing heat waves erupted from his body, causing the surrounding seawater to evaporate, forming a mist that could be seen with the naked eye. Under the mist, he was like a ray of light, directly flying past a rank 2 sea beast. When the sword light dissipated, the sea beast was already decapitated. Good! Dan Taiying shouted. Only when she saw Qing Su kill a rank 2 sea beast with a single slash did she truly believe what Wuquang said. This inland cultivator who looked even younger than her really had the battle prowess of a spirit-refining realm cultivator. However, now was not the time to watch Tsing Hui display his strength. With a shout, she immediately entered the battlefield. Her figure flipped, and the sword light flickered. So be it if it was just a second-rank sea beast, but regular first-rank sea beasts were not her opponent at all. Compared to Qing Su who was holding back, her killing efficiency was clearly faster. Not far from her, Dan Taiyu, who originally looked weak, was also extraordinary. She had awakened the bloodline of the winged dragon and cultivated heavy water true energy, which gave her the ability to control water. Therefore, before the sea beasts could reach her, she would have already used her true energy to control the water and split it apart, causing the sea beasts to be separated from the water, greatly reducing their battle prowess. Although her efficiency in killing sea beasts was relatively slow, with the help of the 2 true energy realm experts, she was able to kill second-rank sea beasts. Her efficiency in killing second-rank sea beasts was 50% of eagle wings when they were fighting in the sea breeze stronghold. With Tsing Hui, Dan Taiying, Dan Taiyu, and the others going all out to kill the sea beasts, this wave of over 100 sea beasts was quickly killed by them. Seeing that the sea beasts were stopped, Dan Taiying also let out a sigh of relief. However, this sigh of relief did not last for long. Immediately, a Jinqi realm cultivator rushed over and reported, "Big Miss, the city lord has sent news. The sea beasts that opened the gate at Longyin River are too crazy. There are a total of 24 rank 3 sea beasts, and 3,000 rank 1 and 2 sea beasts rushing into Longyin River." What? 24 rank 3 sea beasts, and 3,000 rank 1 and 2 sea beasts. Hearing this number, Dan Taiying's face suddenly became ugly. The true energy realm experts behind her could not help but reveal looks of horror in their eyes. More than 3,000 rank 1 and 2 sea beasts ah. If these sea beasts were blocked by the tall walls of Sea Breeze Fort, it would be better. However, if they were allowed to enter the river the humans would lose their geographical advantage. If they wanted to stop the sea beasts, they would need at least a third of their numbers. In other words, there would be 8 spirit refining realm cultivators, and more than 1,000 Jin Qi and awakening realm cultivators. This was already the total strength of the entire North Sea city. Is there a second line of defense at Longyin River? Xing Hui's expression became serious. 24 rank 3 sea beasts swarmed up. Unless he used the divine technique and relied on the Crimson Dragon sword, he would not have the strength to fight them head-on. The second line of defense is 160 kilometers away from here. However, compared to this dam, that dam is slightly inferior. Dan Taiying said. Then there's no other way. Kill as many as we can, and do our best. Xing Hui said slowly. Dan Taiying was silent for a moment before finally nodding his head. Soon, rumbling sounds could be heard once again, followed by a wave that was much larger than the previous one. Even if the current had already overflowed the river surface and dyed the surrounding wilderness into a swamp, it was still unable to subdue the terrifying wave that was more than 10 meters tall, as well as the sea beasts that came with it. All of you run for your lives. Dan Taiying looked at the sea beasts in the huge wave and said bitterly to the mortal cultivators behind him. Young miss, go, the further the better. Those viscera refining and blood transformation realm cultivators glanced at the terrifying sea beasts in the huge wave, as well as the incoming wave that was more than 10 meters tall. In the end, they did not have the courage to fight against these terrifying enemies that exceeded the strength of mortals. They gritted their teeth and said, Young miss, lords, please take care. Then, one by one, they rushed to the back of the dam, wanting to climb up a mountain not far from the dam. Get ready. Dan Taiying said in a low voice. In fact, she did not need to remind them. Thousands of powerful sea beasts swept up the terrifying wave, like an ancient beast that was constantly approaching, and approaching again. The sea beasts had not yet arrived, but the terrifying pressure that they were emitting was already so strong that it made the dozens of North Sea city experts in the dam feel suffocated. A few of the weaker young experts who had just awakened their divine weapons were trembling as their eyes were filled with fear. Unfortunately, many sea beasts would not stop because of the fear of humans. Finally, the terrifying wave that was swept up by the sea beasts crashed into the dam. The moment it was blocked by the dam, the earth-shattering impact erupted and splashed out a 100-meter-tall pillar of water. Accompanied by a series of earth-shaking tremors, the dam suddenly cracked open. Huge cracks filled the surface of the dam, and then continued to spread and combine. Finally, the 60-meter-tall dam was completely torn apart. 2 experts who happened to be in this area were hit by the waves, and they let out shrill screams as they fell into the river. In an instant, they were swarmed by dozens of sea beasts and eaten up. The dam has collapsed, frightened voices rang out from the chaotic crowd. Dan Taiying watched as a large number of sea beasts tore apart the dam's defensive line, passed through the gap, swept up the gradually receding water and rushed towards the deeper parts of the Dragon Chant River. Damn it, I can only pin my hopes on the final plan. Xing Hui, you and Yuer lead 10 people and catch up with these sea beasts. Find out what they want to do in the inland. Everyone else, kill them. Block these sea beasts here for as long as you can. I'll go alone. Xing Hui said, the others may not be able to keep up with my speed. The others don't have to go, but Yuer must go. Yuer has awakened the bloodline of the winged dragon and cultivated the saint-grade heavy water true qi. She can keep up with you. In addition, she has the ability to control water and is very sensitive to water energy. With her around, it will be easier for you to find out the true purpose of these sea beasts. After Dan Taiying finished speaking, he waved his hand and said, that's it. Everyone else, follow me. Xing Hui looked at Dan Taiying. He guessed that Dan Taiying was planning to defend this place to the death. He wanted Dan Taiyu to follow him to chase after the sea beasts, so that he could take Dan Taiyu away from this place. Shaking his head, Xing Hui didn't explain in detail. He said to Dan Taiyu, let's go. Then, following the Dragon Chant River, they chased after the sea beasts that had rushed over the dam first. Chapter 104. Xing Hui, will Big Sister be alright? Dan Taiyu asked worriedly. Although the dam has been torn apart, the fortifications can still be of some use. Moreover, Miss Dan Taiying is an expert who has cultivated spirit-grade stellar energy, so she won't be in any danger for the time being. Thus, we need to figure out the purpose of these sea beasts charging inland as soon as possible. Only then can we deal with the crisis of North Sea City. Dan Taiyu nodded. The two of them quickly ran, following the giant wave that was heading toward the interior of Dragon Roar River. After a while, Dan Taiyu said, Xing Hui, I just sensed that one of those sea beasts is somewhat unusual. A lot of water origin energy is spontaneously converging toward it, as if its affinity with water is higher than mine. Its affinity with water is higher than yours. Xing Hui's gaze turned to the wave that Dan Taiyu was pointing at. You've awakened the winged dragon bloodline, so your affinity with water isn't something that ordinary sea beasts or spirit-grade sea beasts can compare to. For it to surpass you in water affinity, even if it's not a sacred beast, it must be a half-sacred beast that has awakened its sacred beast bloodline. Half-sacred beast. There was actually a half-sacred beast in that wave. Looks like we've found the right person. Follow that half-sacred beast, and we'll definitely be able to figure out their purpose. Dan Taiyu nodded heavily. The giant wave surged. Hundreds of sea beasts swept the giant wave across the dam, and after charging for 40 kilometers, they suddenly changed direction and headed for the branch of Dragon Roar River. That's Luchuan River. Luchuan River is only a small river, and it's not suitable for sea beasts to display their strength. Why did these sea beasts abandon Dragon Roar River and head for Luchuan River instead? Dan Taiyu cried out in alarm. Their purpose isn't to enter the interior of Dragon Whale Island and wreak havoc, but something else. Naturally, they won't head along Dragon Roar River. Let's follow them. As Xing Hui spoke, he stepped into the territory of Luchuan. Compared to the Dragon Chant River, the flow of Luchuan River was much less. The sea beasts that rushed into Luchuan River were wrapped in huge waves as they moved forward. As the flow of water decreased, many sea beasts were almost half exposed on the surface of the river. These sea beasts had to line up to pass through some of the narrower areas. Seeing that the water flow had slowed down by a large amount, Xing Hui no longer watched. His figure flew, and when he flew past some of the nearby sea beasts, sword chi exploded out. Surging heat tore through space and slashed into the bodies of the sea beasts that were closer to the river bank. As he moved forward, he secretly killed the sea beasts. Although the efficiency was slow, it was better than nothing. Where is that? Xing Hui and Dan Taiyu chased after them for over 30 kilometers. When they saw a small lake in front of them, they hurriedly asked. That seems to be the Jade Water Lake. It's a small lake that's not very famous. It's said that even ordinary big fish find it hard to survive there. An ordinary small lake. Xing Hui stared at the small lake for a while. The small lake was 1 li in diameter, similar to a large pond. There was nothing special about it. But contrary to Xing Hui's expectations, when the sea beasts passed by the Jade Water Lake, they did not move forward. Instead, they roared and directly charged into the lake. And almost as these sea beasts killed their way into the periphery of the Jade Water Lake, a low roar suddenly came from the lake. Soon after, a giant beast the size of a small mountain emerged from the lake. Behind it, a giant snake covered in large amounts of scales suddenly attacked, instantly biting off the throat of one of the sea beasts. Dan Taiyu could not help but cry out when she saw the fierce beast that was 3 to 4 meters in diameter emerge from the center of the lake. Turtle and snake in one body. Xuanwu. This is one of the 6 saints, Xuanwu. Xuanwu. Xing Hui also stared at the small creature in the center of the lake, his expression grave. Xuanwu. It was a top water-type sacred beast. It was one of the 6 saints, along with the wood-type azure dragon, metal-type white tiger, fire-type vermilion bird, earth-type gauchen, and wind-type soaring serpent. and represented the peak of the 6 attributes of sacred beasts. This was a terrifying creature that could be called a semi-divine beast. Although Xuanwu took a long time to reach adulthood, once it reached adulthood, it would immediately possess battle prowess comparable to a peak saint. And this Xuanwu in front of them, based on its ability to stir up trouble, was clearly just a cub. This kind of peak sacred beast's cub could be said to be a treasure. It could easily extract several drops of complete Xuanwu blood essence, and the price of each drop of blood essence was probably comparable to that of a Class 8 or Class 9 divine weapon. No wonder these sea beasts wanted to kill their way into Dragon Whale Island. It was a cub sacred beast. Once they could divide and devour this Xuanwu cub, there was a 99% chance that they would transform and evolve. Some of the sea beasts whose bloodlines were already at the peak of the spiritual grade might even mutate and evolve into semi-divine beasts or even sacred beasts. As for the semi-divine beast in the center of the waves, there was a 99% chance that it would evolve into a true sacred beast. Xing Hui, we keep an eye on it. Although that Xuanwu is also at Class 4 and looks like it has just transformed, a sacred beast of this level is definitely not easy to deal with. I'm afraid that even if the Dragon Whale Island Lord personally makes a move, he would only be able to defeat it and not kill it. Class 4. Dan Taiyu's eyes widened in shock. Xing Hui nodded. A Class 4 sacred beast was naturally a one-sided slaughter of ordinary sea beasts. Even if the Xuanwu wasn't proficient in fighting, it still caused a bloody storm in the Jade Lake in a short few minutes. Just as this one-sided slaughter was about to come to an end, a terrifying monster with 6 heads suddenly charged out of the lake. In an instant, the power of water and fire erupted on the surface of the Jade Lake, completely covering the Xuanwu. 6 heads, the power of water and fire. Dan Taiyu cried out again. The semi-divine beast I sensed is this 6-headed snake monster that is about to transform. As long as it can devour the blood essence of the sacred beast Xuanwu, it will complete its transformation and evolve into a sacred beast, Jiuying. Xing Hui nodded. Although there were many vicious beasts in the inner sea, there were basically sea lords. There were even vague records of the number of sea lords in the inner sea. Some sea lords liked to stir up trouble, while others stood aloof from worldly affairs. It was said that the area of the sea where Dragon Whale Island was located belonged to a mild-mannered Xuanwu. And to become a sea lord, even if it was in the inner sea, it usually had the strength of a Class 5 or even a Class 6. This Xuanwu cub only had the strength of a Class 4, so it obviously couldn't be that sea lord. It was very likely that it was of the same race as the Xuanwu sacred beast. Thinking back to the semi-divine beast Jiuying chasing after the Xuanwu cub, as well as the continuous eruption of underwater volcanoes. It was very likely that a great battle had broken out between the rulers of the inner sea, and one of them should be the ruler of this region, Xuanwu. And in the end, Xuanwu was defeated. Jiuying, or rather, the hydra that had transformed into a Jiuying, became the new ruler of this region of the sea. Wait. If the Jiuying that defeated the Xuanwu sacred beast became the true ruler of this region of the sea, why did it only use Class 3 sea beasts to attack Dragon Whale Island? And there was only one Class 4 sea beast. For this to happen, it's very likely that the Hydra and the Xuanwu sacred beast that were vying for the position of Sea Lord fought until both sides were injured. The entire region of the sea was without a leader, so it fell into chaos. In addition, the bloodline of the sacred beast Xuanwu was too attractive to the sea beasts, so those sea beasts who thought they had some ability wanted to take advantage of the chaos to devour the blood essence of the sacred beast Xuanwu, so they chased after the Xuanwu cub that fled to Dragon Whale Island. Xing Hui's eyes lit up. He reckoned that he had touched upon the truth of the matter. At this time, the two giant beasts were still fighting fiercely in the small Jade Lake, raising terrifying waves. Although the Xuanwu cub had the strength of a Class 4 sea beast, its technique was still inferior to that of the quasi-holy Jiuying. Moreover, that Jiuying that had yet to transform was clearly at the middle or high Class 4 sea beast. After a round of fighting, the Xuanwu cub was clearly not as strong as it wanted to be. In the end, the quasi-holy Jiuying gained the upper hand, and actually managed to severely injure Xuanwu, forcing Xuanwu to flee to the shore of the lake. As soon as it reached the shore, the quasi-holy Jiuying's 6 heads roared at the same time, and the power of water and fire surged out, causing the shore to ignite into a raging fire, which completely enveloped Xuanwu and burned it wantonly. If this continued, the slow Xuanwu, who had no chance of escaping, would very likely be killed by this quasi-holy Jiuying. Xing Hui, the Xuanwu sacred beast, has ruled over our seas for decades, and has hardly caused any disasters. However, if we let the Jiuying become the master of this region, it will definitely break the peace of this region, and the people of this region will have no way of making a living. We should still help, lend the Xuanwu sacred beast a hand. Even if we can divert some of the 6-headed basilisk's energy, it would be good enough to let Xuanwu recover some of its strength. Dan Taiyu said worriedly. Xing Hui looked at the 2 Class 4 sacred beasts. There was no need for Dan Taiyu to say anything. Xing Hui did not intend to let these 2 sacred beasts go. Although the 6-headed snake monster hadn't completely transformed into the Saint Beast 9-headed infant, it still wielded the power of water and fire. There would inevitably be a flame essence core within its body. This sort of flame essence core was even better than a high-quality fire attribute spirit stone. A 4th-order flame essence core was enough to allow a spirit-grade true energy immortal 2nd-stage powerhouse to directly push their true energy to perfection. Even if Xing Hui cultivated divine-grade true qi, he could only absorb a part of the purest fire attribute power from the flame essence core. It was still enough for him to push his golden crow true qi or crimson yang true qi to a small realm. Hearing Dan Taiyu's words, he nodded slightly, and said after a moment, when the Xuanwu sacred beast no longer has any power to resist, I will make a move. However, I hope you can promise me one thing. No matter what happens later, you can't tell anyone. Dan Taiyu was slightly startled, but she quickly nodded solemnly, okay, no matter what I see, I will not tell anyone. In order to fight for the Jiuying's corpse, Xing Hui had to reveal more tricks. Seeing Dan Taiyu nod, he immediately pulled out his crimson dragon sword. Dan Taiyu was the daughter of the city lord of North Sea City, so she was very knowledgeable. When she saw the crimson dragon sword in Xing Hui's hand and the blazing heat emitted by the sword, she immediately covered her mouth in shock. A Class 5 divine weapon. You should know what kind of trouble this divine weapon will cause if it is exposed. Xing Hui said. Dan Taiyu quickly nodded, and then raised her hand as if she was swearing, Xing Hui, don't worry, I will not leak the news of this Class 5 divine weapon. Xing Hui nodded. Even if Dan Taiyu really did leak the news to the city lord of North Sea City, it would not be a big deal. With his current strength, a mere city lord of North Sea City was nothing to be afraid of, but Dan Taiyu's favor would be written off. Chapter 105. The Xuanwu cub and the semi-holy Jiuying continued to fight. In the end, the Jiuying gained the upper hand. Seeing that it couldn't escape, the Xuanwu could only choose to hide in its shell and become a real turtle hiding in its shell. However, the Jiuying wasn't a purely physical beast. Seeing that the Xuanwu wasn't going to come out, it immediately spat out raging flames at the Xuanwu. The blazing waves of flames surrounded the Xuanwu cub and incinerated it. In the blink of an eye, the ground was turned into glass. Even the nearby water was quickly evaporated by the terrifying flames, forming a distortion in the void. Xing Hui, let's make a move. That Jiuying's injuries aren't light either. As long as you can tie down the Jiuying for a bit, I'll be able to use my heavy water true qi to nourish the body of the holy beast Xuanwu and heal its injuries. Although it won't be able to recover to its peak state, it won't be difficult for it to recover a bit of its battle prowess and fight the Jiuying again. Dan Taiyu said somewhat impatiently. You want to tame this holy beast? Xing Hui looked at Dan Taiyu. Dan Taiyu shook her head. Holy beasts are extremely proud. Let alone taming holy beasts, ordinary people might not even be able to tame spirit beasts. Before obtaining a brilliant beast taming method, only vicious beasts can be tamed by humans. I don't even dare to imagine taming a holy beast. I've only heard that holy beasts are extremely intelligent and remember favors. If we can help the Xuanwu cub at this time, won't it be able to bring less trouble to our dragon whale island when it rules this area in the future? A holy beast's corpse is completely worth an astronomical price. Even if it's a holy beast cub, it's no exception. I understand that a man's wealth is his own ruin. Besides, if we let the Jiuying kill the Xuanwu, without the Xuanwu restraining it, we definitely won't be a match for the Jiuying. In the end, it'll only benefit the Jiuying, allowing it to devour the Xuanwu holy beast and complete its transformation, growing into an even more terrifying existence. Xing Hui glanced at Dan Taiyu, somewhat surprised. He didn't expect her to be able to see the pros and cons of the whole thing clearly in front of the temptation of a holy beast's corpse. You don't need to worry about the Xuanwu. It 111 won't die anytime soon. Let's wait until the Jiuying exhausts its flame power. But if that's the case, the Xuanwu will also be severely injured and on the verge of death. At that time, with my newly cultivated heavy water Zhen Qi, I might not be able to help it recover much of its vitality. The Jiuying's injuries are not light. When it was fighting with the Xuanwu, it had already exhausted its ability to control water. This is also the reason why it forced the Xuanwu to come ashore. Once it exhausts its flame power, it'll be the same as having its two most powerful techniques taken away. At that time, I can rely on the Crimson Dragon's sword to heavily injure or even kill it. This, Dan Taiyu looked at Xing Hui, obviously not trusting him. Even if the half-holy beast Jiuying exhausted its flame and water power, and had injuries left behind by the Xuanwu, it should still have the battle prowess of a peak spirit refining cultivator, right? Xing Hui, a Saint-grade Zhen Qi cultivator, actually wanted to rely on a rank 5 divine weapon to defeat a terrifying beast that had the battle prowess of a peak spirit refining cultivator. Xing Hui, Dan Taiyu wanted to persuade Xing Hui again, but he was indifferent. She was helpless and could only anxiously stand by the side. The half-holy beast Jiuying continued to spit out flames for a few minutes, causing the temperature within a few kilometers to rise by a few degrees. Xuanwu, who was in the middle of the flames, was almost cooked. But at this time, the flame power in its body was finally exhausted. For a moment, the half-holy beast Jiuying let out an unwilling roar. It wanted to entangle Xuanwu and bite Xuanwu, but it was unable to do anything. It could only cry out helplessly. Xuanwu is really worthy of being a saint beast. There's no need to doubt its life-saving methods. Xing Hui said as he watched from the side. Xing Hui, if we don't do anything, Xuanwu's cub won't be able to hold on. Don't worry, I think the reason why Xuanwu is not coming out is because it knows that even if the Jiuying exhausts all its energy, it can't do anything to it. That's why it is so fearless and is even too lazy to counterattack before its death. Don't use your heavy water Zhen Qi to heal Xuanwu, just leave the Jiuying to me. With that, Qing Su leapt up, directly charging towards Jiuying, who was recovering the power of fire within him and spitting out flames from his mouth. Almost at the same time that Xing Hui rushed out, the half-holy beast Jiuying also sensed his presence. Seeing that a mere Jiuying in the true energy realm dared to challenge its dignity, the Jiuying let out a furious roar. Its 6 heads quickly bit towards Xing Hui. Xing Hui's eyes were like lightning as he stared at one of the heads where the Xuanwu had bitten off its scales. He did not dodge at all. Be careful. Seeing this scene, Dan Taiyu was so scared that she raised her voice and shouted loudly. At this moment, Xing Hui drew his sword. The Crimson Dragon Sword, an upper-grade level 5 god weapon, was suddenly unsheathed. It swept up a flaming meteor and instantly tore through the sky, ruthlessly slashing towards one of the snakeheads. Chi! The sword light whistled. One of the heads of the half-holy beast Jiuying was directly cut off by Xing Hui's sword. Roar! After one of its heads was cut off, the Jiuying let out a dragon-like roar. Its huge body rapidly moved. The remaining 5 heads intertwined like 5 terrifying pythons, bringing along a thunderous might as they bit down on Xing Hui. Facing the might of the 5 heads, the Crimson Dragon sword in Xing Hui's hand madly changed. Flames burst out, and blazing chi that was not inferior to earth chi swept out, crazily sweeping towards the surroundings. The Jiuying's sturdy scales tore open bloody scars, causing the half-holy beast to scream miserably. This Dan Taiyu, who was originally full of worry, suddenly widened her eyes in shock. Even without the power of water and fire, and with a large number of wounds on its body, the rank 4 half-holy beast Jiuying could still fight against any peak spirit refining realm cultivator with its physical strength. Even if his father, Dan Tating, was here, he would not dare to say that he had the ability to kill this Jiuying. But now Tsing Hui was actually fighting against the half-holy beast Jiuying. Not only did he cut off one of the heads of the half-holy beast Jiuying, the blazing chi of his sword that he brandished tore open wounds on the Jiuying's body. What made her feel even more incredulous was the places where Tsing Hui slashed were all the places where Xuanwu had bitten open. His sword continued to widen the wounds caused by Xuanwu's bite. When he found an opportunity, he suddenly burst out again. Rumble. The blazing flames dazzled the void. In the next moment, the remaining 5 heads of the Jiuying once again let out 4 mournful screams. Another head was cut off by Tsing Hui's sword. Too powerful, Dan Taiyu's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. However, this shock was replaced by panic the moment the Jiuying's head fell to the ground. Careful! Pang! Tsing Hui's body was suddenly swept by the Jiuying's huge body. Like a cannonball, he fiercely smashed into the ground. Even the ground that had been scorched into glass was smashed into pieces by him. Seeing this scene, Dan Taiyu was so scared that her face turned pale. She immediately rushed out to help. However, he never thought that if it were any other person, Qing Su, whose organs would have been completely displaced from the strike, would actually forcefully suppress his injuries and flip around. He had already taken to the air again, pulling away from Chen Shi as he retreated, and then, the chi of the sword burst out. The chi of the sword shot through the eye of one of the Jiuying's heads at an unbelievable speed, and then came out from the back of the head, flying sword. Dan Taiyu, who had rushed out, stopped in her tracks. He had a rank 5 divine weapon, a flying sword, and also cultivated holy grade earth energy. With the combination of these 3, the battle prowess he could unleash was not inferior to any spirit refining cultivator. He might not even be inferior to her father, Dan Tating. Tsing Hui, he actually had such strength? After piercing through one of the Jiuying's eyes and one of its heads, Tsing Hui seemed to have thought of a battle tactic. His body flew, and he actually quickly opened up the distance between himself and the Jiuying. At the same time, the Qingxian sword continued to shoot out under his control, and in an instant, it pierced through the other heads of the Jiuying. In less than a few breaths, 4 of its remaining heads were pierced through. This 6-headed snake was a rank 4 half-saint beast. If it were to swim in the sea, it would naturally be able to ride the wind and break through the waves. Ordinary humans would not be able to compare to it. However, it was unable to keep up with Tsing Hui's speed, and was completely suppressed by Tsing Hui's kiting tactics. Under such circumstances, the rank 4 upper-grade Qingxian sword was even more intimidating than a rank 5 upper-grade divine weapon. Roar! Roar! The Jiuying let out a furious roar, and a pillar of water shot out from its mouth like a water cannon, blasting Tsing Hui's body. Careful! Dan Taiyu's panicked voice sounded. However, before the water pillar could explode on Tsing Hui's body, the true chi in Tsing Hui's body surged, and the shadow of a golden crow spread its wings behind him. In an instant, more than half of the water pillar in front of him was incinerated. Although the remaining water column still hit his body and sent him flying, it did not cause too much substantial damage to him. In addition, with his powerful recovery ability, he could recover in a few breaths. Seeing that it could not do anything to Tsing Hui, the Jiuying suddenly became extremely irritable. The half-saint beast Jiuying was not afraid of a head-on confrontation. Even if Tsing Hui cut off 2 of its heads, with its powerful self-recovery ability, it could recover in 10 days to half a month. However, Tsing Hui did not want to fight it head-on, and its long-range attack ability of water and fire was almost completely exhausted. The little it recovered was not enough to cause a fatal blow to Tsing Hui. For a moment, it could only watch as Tsing Hui once again flew over on his sword and pierced its fifth and sixth eyes. With 4 heads and only 2 eyes left, the Jiuying finally felt a little scared. However, it did not want to give up on Xuanwu's essence and blood. Seeing that Xuanwu was still hiding, it suddenly rushed forward to wrap around Xuanwu's huge body and was about to take it into the Luchuan River. But at this moment, the black tortoise, who had been holed up like a tortoise on its last breath, suddenly stretched out its head. Its head, which was filled with sharp teeth, fiercely bit down on the only head of the Jiuying that still had a good eye. Chi! Blood spurted out, and the head was bitten off by Xuanwu. Since then, the half-saint beast Jiuying had lost 3 of its 6 heads, and the remaining 3 had their eyes shot out by Tsing Hui. It was completely blind. Chapter 106. Ha! Seeing that the baby Xuanwu was still able to kill the Jiuying with one blow, Tsing Hui's eyes narrowed slightly. He thought that this sacred beast was on the verge of death, but now it seemed that it could not be underestimated. However, his main goal now was to kill the Jiuying. Tsing Hui turned his gaze and quickly rushed toward the semi-holy Jiuying that had lost its vision. The Jiuying also understood that it was a matter of life and death. It no longer cared about the life and death of the baby Xuanwu, and quickly rushed toward the river. Dan Taiyu. Use your water control technique to disrupt this Jiuying's sense of the direction of the river and prevent it from escaping into the river. Tsing Hui shouted. The strength of a water-attributed fierce beast would be greatly reduced on land, but once it escaped into the water, unless Tsing Hui was willing to use the power of the divine technique, it would definitely escape. Yes. Hearing Tsing Hui's shout, Dan Taiyu responded nervously. She quickly jumped and came to a small pond less than a mile away from the Luchuan. She activated her heavy water genuine qi, and the water in the small pond was swept up in waves. Powerful water-attributed yuan qi spread in all directions, and to a certain extent, it had already covered the natural aura of the Luchuan. For a moment, the Jiuying that was escaping toward the Luchuan paused. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Tsing Hui attacked with all his strength. A series of bombardment, flying swords burst out, and waves of sonic booms constantly interfered with the Jiuying's sense of direction. By the time it regained its consciousness, it was completely unable to distinguish the direction of the Luchuan. Since then, the rest of the battle was no longer suspenseful. Having lost its vision and its sense of direction, it lost the opportunity to escape into the Luchuan. A few minutes later, Tsing Hui cut off the remaining 3 heads one by one. Bang! As the nearly 20-meter-tall holy beast Jiuying's gigantic body landed heavily on the ground, the battlefield suddenly fell silent. Dan Taiyu opened her small mouth and stared blankly at Tsing Hui, who was standing in front of the huge corpse of the semi-holy beast Jiuying. A 4th-order half-holy beast was exhausted to death by Tsing Hui just like that. Even though this semi-holy beast had exhausted all of its power of water and fire when it was fighting with Xuanwu, but in the end, he had been killed by Tsing Hui, who was only in the true energy realm. This scene had an unprecedented impact on Dan Taiyu. Looking at Tsing Hui's tiny figure again, in her eyes, his figure had become incomparably tall at this moment. She was so shocked that she couldn't control herself. Tsing Hui naturally didn't know that the scene of him killing the 4th-order half-holy beast Jiuying had shocked Dan Taiyu. After panting slightly for a moment, he didn't hesitate at all. He jumped up and directly came to the side of Xuanwu, who was hiding in its shell. Bang! A blazing flame suddenly exploded in Tsing Hui's hand. The terrifying temperature rose crazily, causing the air within a radius of tens of meters around Tsing Hui to be distorted due to the burning of the air. Tsing Hui. Dan Taiyu saw that Tsing Hui seemed to want to kill the Xuanwu cub. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but in the end, she couldn't say anything. A holy beast. Even if it was just a cub, its value was far beyond anyone's imagination. Especially when this cub only had the combat strength of the 4th order, to countless people, this could be called a heaven-sent opportunity. The blazing and domineering golden crow true energy suddenly covered the body of the Xuanwu cub, causing it to tremble slightly as if in fear. However, the golden crow true energy that had always been successful had a problem at this moment. Although in terms of quality, the golden crow true energy was purer than the flames spat out by the half-holy beast Jiuying, there was too little of it. Compared to the true body of the Xuanwu cub, which was more than 3 meters in diameter, it was like trying to put out a burning cart with a cup of water. Seeing that the golden crow true energy couldn't do anything to the Xuanwu cub, Xinghui kept his guard up and directly drew his sword. The crimson dragon's sword swirled with flames and generated gang qi, ruthlessly stabbing at the weak point below the Xuanwu cub's shell. Bang! Flames burst forth. The true energy dissipated. The strong rebounding force traveled along the crimson dragon's sword to Xinghui's arm, causing the web between his thumb and forefinger to crack. The crimson dragon's sword, which was a superior grade 5th order, almost flew out of his hand. This defense, at present, the Xuanwu could be said to be on the verge of death, even if it was very likely that it had sunk into a tortoise's breath to recover its vitality, it was enough to determine that its injuries were extremely serious. However, in this situation where the opponent was standing motionless and unable to counterattack, his attack with a superior grade 5th order sword actually couldn't do anything to this holy beast cub. This made him feel somewhat embarrassed. True energy realm, so what if it had divine grade true energy? The difference in strength was still too great. However, he wasn't willing to give up on a holy beast cub so easily. When he glanced at Dan Taiyu in the distance, he pondered for a moment. In the next moment, a terrifying power swept out from his body. Divine art. The Ish. With the divine art, the blazing true energy in Xinghui's body suddenly transformed into stellar energy. This stellar energy, which far surpassed that of ordinary stellar energy experts, poured into the sword, causing the crimson dragon's sword to seem like a blazing sun. It exploded with a dazzling radiance, so bright that Dan Taiyu couldn't help but raise her hand to shield her forehead. Bang! A blazing wave of fire erupted, incinerating what little vegetation was left on the ground. In the center of the wave of fire, Xuanwu, who was safe and sound in his turtle shell, let out a pained scream. He was actually sent flying by this sword and constantly tumbling. Below the turtle shell, a pitch-black sword slash was half a foot deep, and one could faintly see the flesh wriggling inside. Very good. After his sword had taken effect, Xinghui, who had been worried about the abnormal defense of the Xuanwu cub, breathed a sigh of relief. He once more raised his sword and charged at the Xuanwu cub. But at this time, the Xuanwu cub seemed to know that even its tyrannical defense could not block Xinghui's crimson dragon sword. It quickly stuck its head out and whimpered as if begging for something. At the same time, it very humanely bowed its head. Ah! Dan Taiyu was shocked by this sight. Xinghui, this Xuanwu is bowing its head and begging for mercy. Bowing its head and begging for mercy? Xinghui looked at the Xuanwu before him and asked, if this Xuanwu submits, is there a way to tame it? Submit? A holy beast can't possibly submit to a human, can it? At most, it can give enough treasures. Dan Taiyu hesitantly said. No amount of treasures can compare to a holy beast cub. Xinghui did not wait for her to finish speaking and was about to strike again. But this Xuanwu cub seemed to have understood their conversation. It whimpered and lowered its head quickly. Its big watery eyes looked at Xinghui pitifully as it begged for mercy. If he could tame a stage 4 Xuanwu, it would be immeasurable for his strength to increase. Although this Xuanwu was completely under his control, the main reason was that the environment of the Luchuan River limited the abilities of water creatures like Xuanwu and Jiuying. If they were to enter the sea, even if an immortal level 5 green netherworld realm powerhouse attacked personally, he would not be able to do anything to a stage 4 Xuanwu. Buzz, buzz. As Xinghui formed a spell, his figure appeared directly in the Chaos Temple and went to the personal space of the Dawn Light leader, Ling Yu. However, in Ling Yu's personal space, Xinghui did not meet Yan Huang. He did not even find Tian Wen, who was well informed. Just as he was about to leave regretfully, he seemed to have thought of something and formed another spell. Not long after, this spell seemed to connect to a mysterious space. As his figure changed, he appeared in a simple and elegant hall. In the hall, a lady in a blue robe ended her conversation with another lady. She stood up and said, "Pak Hui." "Qing Yu." Xing Hui nodded slightly. The lady in front of him was Nalan Fei. She used the name Qing Yu in the Chaos Temple, and this space was her personal space. This was the first time he had entered Nalan Fei's personal space. As he swept his gaze over it, he was shocked to discover that just this hall alone was already over 60 square meters in size. Including the other rooms and courtyards that he couldn't see the end of, this space was probably 100 meters in diameter. Based on this, Nalan Fei's personal space had already reached the second level. Huh? Just as Xing Hui was looking around, a special wave appeared on his body and bounced off. Xing Hui's gaze fell on the lady beside Nalan Fei. At this moment, the lady looked at Xing Hui with a hint of shock. Appraisal? Xing Hui recalled the characteristics of the special wave and suddenly thought of something. The lady's expression became awkward. She hurriedly apologized to Xing Hui. "I'm sorry, Your Excellency Pak Hui. It's just that this is the first time Qing Yu has let a man enter her personal space. I was very curious and could not help but want to peek. Please forgive me, Your Excellency Pak Hui." "Jin Yu." Nalan Fei glared at the lady with dissatisfaction and said sternly, "You should know that using appraisal to investigate other people's information is a big taboo. If you're found out, you'll be killed immediately. You have nothing to say about this and Tianqiong will not stand up for you. Moreover, Pak Hui is one of my best friends. If this happens again, don't blame me for not recognizing you as a sister." Yes, I understand. I was just too curious. We've known each other for more than 10 years. This is the first man to step into your Qingyu villa, the lady called Jin Yu said and turned to Xing Hui again and again to apologize. Seeing this, Nalan Fei's expression returned to normal. She turned to Xing Hui and said apologetically, "Pak Hui, Jin Yu has offended you. I'll teach her a lesson when the time comes. Please don't take it to heart." This was the first time Xing Hui knew that there was such a taboo when using appraisal to investigate other people. He could not help but feel a bit lucky. When he first met Ling Yu, he had used appraisal on her. Fortunately, she did not notice. Otherwise, he would not be able to enter Dawn. If he could not enter Dawn, he would not be able to trade with Sword Master Bai Heng. He did not know what he would be like at this time. "Alright, Jin Yu, Pak Hui would not look for me if there's nothing important. Now that she's looking for me, she must have something important to discuss. I understand. I'll leave now. I won't disturb the two of you." Jin Yu clearly had a carefree personality. She giggled and said a few words before her figure quickly dissipated. Clearly, she had left the personal space. "Pak Hui, what's the matter?" Although there were no outsiders, Nalan Fei did not call Xing Hui by his real name because she had developed the habit of using codenames in the Chaos Temple. "I was lucky enough to injure a Xuanwu cub. Currently, that Xuanwu cub is showing signs of submitting to me. I want to know if there's a way to sign a contract with this Xuanwu cub and make it mine." Chapter 107. A Xuanwu cub. Upon hearing Xing Hui's words, Nalan Fei was truly shocked. "You actually severely injured a Xuanwu sacred beast and made it show signs of submitting to you?" After saying that, she seemed to have thought of something. "There's a slight possibility. Ordinary people can't sense the profoundness of us sons of chaos, but these beasts have keen senses. Therefore, ordinary cultivators find it extremely difficult to subdue spirit beasts, let alone sacred beasts. However, we sons of chaos have a unique advantage. It's often easy for us to gain the favor of spirit beasts and even sacred beasts. The higher the level of chaos, the greater the probability. It's just like how these spirit beasts and sacred beasts know that following high-level sons of chaos like us has an extremely bright future. Oh. Xing Hui was a little surprised. I didn't expect sons of chaos to have such an advantage while facing the danger of being hunted down by so many forces. Becoming a son of chaos is a great opportunity for anyone. Many people who have reached a bottleneck in their cultivation shouldn't have any hope of reaching a higher realm for the rest of their lives. However, after becoming a son of chaos, they can often create miracles. From the fact that sons of chaos are sought after by countless people and forces, you can see how mysterious and powerful they are. Low-level sons of chaos can't display too many profundities, but when they become high-level sons of chaos, they can completely pull apart the difference between themselves and ordinary cultivators. This is especially true when a son of chaos reaches level 30 and opens the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. Chaos Treasure Pavilion. The inner sanctum of the Chaos Temple is the world of high-level sons of chaos. In the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, you can use Taoist rhymes to buy treasures that ordinary people can't obtain no matter how hard they try. This is also the reason why sons of chaos above level 30 are still trying to obtain treasures and raise their chaos level. If you want to sign a contract with the sacred beast Xuanwu, you only need to buy a chaos contract from the Chaos Treasure Pavilion. However, it's not easy to obtain a chaos contract, so you can only give up on it. Therefore, the only way is to get Xuanwu to sign a master-servant contract with you. Many sacred beasts often have this kind of contract. At this point, Nalan Fei paused slightly. Even if a son of chaos isn't of a high level, it's not easy to get a sacred beast to sign a master-servant contract. Many sacred beasts would rather die than become a human servant. You can consider it. You can either cultivate a relationship with the cub Xuanwu and get it to sign a contract with you, or kill it directly and sell it for blood essence. Even if you can only extract 3 or 4 drops of blood essence from a Xuanwu, it's enough to exchange for cultivation resources for your entire immortality cultivation resources. I understand. Is there any problem with Lorraine's royal city? Only Zhang Jiuxiao and Seng Xue are left by Jasper's side. She doesn't dare to act rashly. However, the agreed date hasn't arrived yet. You still have news that she might give you a fatal blow at the last moment. I'll be careful. Xing Hui nodded slightly. In fact, with his current cultivation level, it would be fine if Jasper Fairy didn't come. If she dared to come for revenge, even if Zhang Jiuxiao and Seng Xue worked together, only death would await them. After learning a little about the master-servant contract with Nalan Fei, Xing Hui immediately shifted his attention to Xuanwu. This Xuanwu and Jiuying were in such a sorry state because both sides were injured. Once it recovered, there was a danger of turning the situation around. As a holy beast, your inherited memory must include human language, so I know you can understand what I'm saying. Now, you have 2 choices. The first is to use the master-servant contract recorded in your inherited memory. Only then will I believe you and let you live. The second. I'll kill you and extract your blood essence to sell. After saying that, Xing Hui slowly raised the crimson dragon sword in his hand. You only have 1 breath's time to think. Choose 1 or 2. This didn't seem to be a choice at all. Xing Hui's words immediately made the Xuanwu cub in front of him look pitiful. Its eyes were filled with tears, as if it wanted to gain sympathy. However, Xing Hui's expression was as cold as steel. He was unmoved as he looked at the Xuanwu. When the time was up, he directly drew his sword. Looks like you've chosen the latter. You can't blame me, buzz buzz. Before Xing Hui could finish his words, the Xuanwu cub emitted a faint mysterious fluctuation. Immediately after, it used a drop of blood essence that contained boundless water-type essence and controlled it to float in front of Xing Hui. Seeing this scene, Xing Hui, who understood the master-servant contract, immediately forced out a drop of his blood essence and fused it with the drop of blood essence. The 2 drops of blood essence fused together and immediately exploded, forming a red array less than 1 meter in diameter. The array flashed for a moment and split into 2. One went into the Xuanwu cub's body, and the other went into Tsing Hui's body, leaving a small Xuanwu mark on his wrist. Baby, it's so bitter. The moment the Xuanwu mark formed, a cry that would make people cry sounded in Tsing Hui's mind. Xuanwu. Tsing Hui tried to transmit a portion of his consciousness that contained information to the Xuanwu mark on his wrist. The Xuanwu cub in front of him immediately widened its eyes and stared at Tsing Hui. Aren't you only at the second stage? How can you use the power of the spirit? The power of the spirit that the Xuanwu spoke of was referring to the mental transmission just now. Tsing Hui was unwilling to explain. It's good that you can communicate. At this moment, the Xuanwu in front of him looked at Tsing Hui and hesitated for a moment with an aggrieved expression. Suddenly, it said, actually. I can speak your human language, Tsing Hui was slightly startled. Ah, you can actually speak. No wonder you're one of the 6 divine beasts at the peak of the sacred beasts. Dan Taiyu's surprised voice sounded. At the same time, she looked at the Xuanwu cub in surprise. Tsing Hui, that array just now. Could it be a contract array? Tsing Hui nodded. Dan Taiyu's beautiful eyes suddenly widened. You subdued it? You subdued a powerful sacred beast. Hearing Dan Taiyu use the words, powerful sacred beast, to describe itself, the scarred Xuanwu cub that looked quite miserable suddenly raised its head and puffed out its chest. Although its voice was a little childish, it pretended to be profound. That's right. I am the most powerful overlord within a 3,000-kilometer radius of this sea region. Under my pressure, all the fish, insects, and sea beasts within a 3,000-kilometer radius of this sacred beast have to follow my orders. When I'm slightly angry, I can cause landslides and tsunamis. If I'm not distracted, I can cause a beast tide to drown your insignificant human kingdoms. Shut up. Tsing Hui saw the Xuanwu cub bragging seriously and couldn't help but scold. Since you can govern 3,000 kilometers of sea region, why are you being chased by these sea beasts? Tsing Hui's words immediately made the Xuanwu cub in front of him change its expression quickly. It immediately put on a pitiful look. Baby's heart is bitter. I was the most powerful overlord within a 3,000-kilometer radius. Under my sister's protection, I lived a good life. I stretched out my hand and opened my mouth to eat. When I went out, my little brothers would follow me. My life was so carefree and happy. However, a year ago, my sister was summoned by her people to participate in some war in the outer seas. She never came back. When the Hydra, who was originally loyal to my sister, saw that my sister didn't come back, they immediately gathered their little brothers to rebel. All right, speak normally. Just now you called yourself Hydra. Jiuying? Is it the half-sacred beast that I just killed? Tsing Hui said seriously. Yes, the Xuanwu cub responded pitifully. At the same time, it glanced hatefully at the half-sacred beast Jiuying that was killed by Tsing Hui. That's just the Hydra's son, a lackey. It's too much. How dare he betray me? Boss, why don't you just take me back and kill the Hydra and take back my sister's cave residence? Let me tell you, my sister's cave residence has a lot of good things. Once you bring them to the human world to exchange, I guarantee that you will have cars, money, divine weapons, armor, beautiful women, handsome men. You will have everything you want. What's the strength of the Hydra you mentioned? He's not powerful. He's just a little stronger than me. In your human terms, he's probably at the 5th order. My sister can kill him with just a spit of saliva, let alone you, boss. Can't you sense my strength? Are you trying to kill me with a borrowed knife? No, boss. You are the son of chaos chosen by the great chaos ruler. According to my sister, the sons of chaos are the most terrifying group in the world. Every one of them is unbelievably powerful. Because they were bestowed by the great chaos ruler, their talents are even stronger than divine beasts. If I see a son of chaos in the future, I must run as far away as possible. If I can't outrun them, I must surrender immediately. Xing looked at the Xuanwu cub. Was this why he had successfully subdued it? Its sister only taught it how to distinguish the sons of chaos. Did she not teach it that there were strong and weak sons of chaos? But, the chaos ruler. Who is the chaos ruler you speak of? The chaos ruler is the chaos ruler. My sisters and my inherited memories tell me that the great chaos ruler is the most supreme existence in the world. Well, in short, he's very, very powerful. Looking at it, Xing Hui knew that he would not be able to get the information he wanted. Meanwhile, Dan Taiyu stared at Xing Hui. No wonder you're so powerful. So you're the legendary son of chaos. Qing Su glanced at Tan Taiyu and said seriously, since you've heard of the son of chaos, you should know what the son of chaos represents. It's just like the high-grade class 5 god artifact in my possession. You can't teach it to others. I understand. Dan Taiyu nodded vigorously. She raised one hand and clasped her fingers together. I swear, I will never tell anyone. After saying that, she glanced nervously at the Xuanwu cub. Right now, both my sister and father are in danger. Since the Xuanwu sacred beast is the ruler of these seas, is there a way to make those sea beasts retreat so that our North Sea city can avoid this crisis of destruction? Xing Hui's gaze fell on the Xuanwu cub. The young black tortoise hurriedly said, this must be the wise, mighty, and beloved mistress. In fact, the decision of this matter is not up to me, but up to Master. If Master is willing, I will immediately bring Master back to the cave residence and regain control of this sea region. When that time comes, all the treasures in the sea will be at your disposal. Xing Hui saw Dan Taiyu looking at him and shook his head slightly. That Zhouying's strength has reached the 5th grade. Instantly, Dan Taiyu's eyes dimmed. Chapter 108. Master, could it be that you can't defeat the Hydra? The Xuanwu cub's voice suddenly became a notch louder. It stared at Xing Hui with its big watery eyes, faintly feeling that it had been deceived. Strictly speaking, my strength is only equivalent to the level 2 sea beasts you mentioned. However, with the enhancement of my combat power and god weapon, I can fight against level 3 sea beasts and even weak level 4 sea beasts. Oh! No! The Xuanwu cub let out a shrill cry. I already felt that something was wrong, but you were too scared. You raised your sword and attacked the turtle without giving me any time to think. That's why I signed a master-servant contract with you before I could see your strength clearly. I'm blind. I'm blind. As it screamed, the Xuanwu cub rolled on the ground in pain. It seemed that it had become lively in just a short while. It had to be said that the vitality of a holy beast was indeed tenacious. Stop causing trouble. Since you don't have the ability to deal with this beast tide, come with me and kill as many as you can. No, no. I'm still young, I'm only 103 years old. I can't go to the battlefield. You can't abuse children, 103 years old, a child. Looking at the Xuanwu cub that had turned from to baby, not to mention Xing Hui, even Dan Taiyu felt the corners of their mouths twitch. However, as long as the Xuanwu successfully grew to adulthood, it would have a lifespan of 10,000 years. 103 years old, compared to the long lifespan of the holy beast Xuanwu, was indeed only considered a child. It was still equivalent to a 1-year-old human child. Can the Hydra find your location? That 6-headed monster just now left a mark on my body. That's why it was able to charge straight at me. Now that it's dead, without its command, these sea beasts will probably disperse very soon. Humph. That 6-headed Zhouying has been attacking Dragon Whale Island for close to 2 months. Even if the 9-headed Zhouying doesn't know that you are on Dragon Whale Island, he will definitely suspect you. At that time, he will raise a tsunami and drown Dragon Whale Island. The Hydra is so stupid. How could it think of such a complicated problem? If it really wanted to, it would have attacked us in the past 2 months. Besides, it's not the only one under my sister's command. Since it chased me out, it should be busy fighting with those sea monsters for the various treasures left behind by my sister. Even if it sends some monsters to hunt me down, it should only be some small monsters. Xuanwu Cub's words brought Xinghui back to reality. Beasts were different from humans. Their intelligence was far from the level of humans. The only reason they could fight against humans was because of their innate advantage. Not to mention the Hydra that had not fully transformed into a sacred beast, even some sacred beasts' intelligence could not be compared to humans. In this way, without the command of the six-headed semi-holy beast, these sea beasts should gradually retreat, and the crisis of Northern Sea City will naturally be resolved. Really? Dan Taiyu's eyes lit up. Of course. After saying that, Xinghui came in front of the six-headed Jiuying. Since he had already exposed the means of the Son of Chaos in front of Dan Taiyu, he did not avoid suspicion. With a wave of his hand, the huge six-headed Jiuying was stored in his personal space. Although this six-headed Jiuying had not fully transformed into a true Jiuying sacred beast, it was still a level 4 semi-holy beast. If he were to sell it, it would fetch a high price. The spirit stones he used to buy the fire attribute treasures fell on this sea monster. Such a huge carcass disappeared in an instant. Is this the legendary personal space of the Son of Chaos? Dan Taiyu asked. Xinghui nodded and turned his gaze to the Xuanwu cub. During this time, you should rest and recover as soon as possible. Once I upgrade my personal space to the level where it can accommodate living creatures, I will take you away. This baby is a Xuanwu sacred beast. Why should I stay in this small pond? The Xuanwu cub said self-righteously. A level 4 Xuanwu does not have the qualifications to roam the seas. Not to mention what will happen to you if you are discovered by the Hydra. Even if you are discovered by humans, you will face great danger. This baby refuses to accept. After being threatened by Xinghui, the Xuanwu sacred beast's voice immediately weakened. Then evolve. Evolve to level 5. As long as you are not trapped on an island, you should be able to roam the seas. But, it's very difficult, the Xuanwu cub said weakly. Xinghui looked at the Xuanwu cub and also felt that he had not thought things through. The Xuanwu sacred beast had the longest lifespan and the slowest growth cycle among all the sacred beasts. If he wanted to let this Xuanwu cub grow to level 5, it would take at least 20 to 30 years. The target he set for himself was 10 years to reach the vacuum-shattering realm. At that time, let alone the fact that the Xuanwu cub had not yet evolved, even if it did, it would not be of much help to him. Therefore, instead of waiting for the Xuanwu cub to grow, it would be better to kill it and refine its blood essence. The Xuanwu cub, who was originally dissatisfied with Xinghui's treatment of the small pond, was very good at reading people's expressions. It suddenly trembled in fear and hurriedly shouted, "I will go to the pond now. I will go to the upper reaches of the Luchuan River and hide there. I will concentrate on my cultivation and reach level 5 as soon as possible. Goodbye, master." After saying that, without giving Xinghui time to react, it fled into the Luchuan River with its 4 short legs and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Although Xinghui could clearly sense the Xuanwu cub's location due to the master-servant contract, and could even send a message to Xuanwu through the mark on his arm to ask it to return, after thinking for a moment, he finally did not have the intention to kill it and refine its blood. Let's go back to the dam and see if the sea beasts have retreated. If they haven't, the two of us can be of some help. Yes. Dan Taiyu responded. She did not even ask about the secrets of the Son of Chaos and the Xuanwu cub in Xinghui's body. She hurriedly rushed toward the dam at full speed. Xinghui's figure flew and followed closely behind. The two of them, one in front and one behind, shuttled for a moment and soon arrived at the dam on the Longyin River. At this time, the entire dam had been completely destroyed in a series of battles. The broken foundation of the dam was littered with hundreds of sea beasts' corpses. There were first-order, second-order, and several third-order sea beasts. The sea beasts had suffered heavy losses, and so had the human side. Of the hundreds of Awakening Stage and Genuine Qi Stage powerhouses who had followed Dan Taiying, the number of survivors was less than 5. Moreover, all of them were seriously injured. Although 2 of the awakening stage powerhouses had survived, they had lost their arms and legs. Even if they could recover in the future, it would be difficult for them to return to the peak. Sister. Seeing the human corpses on the dam, Tantaiyu let out a worried cry. She quickly rushed toward the few people who were lucky enough to survive. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she saw a woman who was covered in blood and looked weak and exhausted among the crowd. Sister, they've retreated. These sea beasts have all retreated. They've retreated. Dan Taiying had fought a bloody battle. His spirit and body were exhausted to the limit. Hearing Dan Taiyu's words, he raised his pale and beautiful face and showed a bitter smile. Yes, they've retreated, but our people have also almost been wiped out. Xing Hui slowly stepped forward and swept a glance. Including Tan Tai-yin, there were 9 of them who survived. Less than 1 out of 10 survived. The real number was less than 1 out of 10. The invasion of the sea beasts in front of him was not a real beast tide, but even so, it had already caused such a huge number of casualties. Hundreds of awakening realm and genuine Qi realm masters, who were respected inland, had died as if they were chopping melons and vegetables. This made him deeply understand the cruelty of the sea. No wonder the overseas cultivators only wanted to break through to a higher realm and did not care about a broader future. Under the threat of death brought by the sea beasts at any time, the most important thing was to obtain tyrannical strength as soon as possible. Without strength, even if you had a good foundation, you would still fall in the sea beast's tide that broke out at irregular intervals. You've been investigating all this time. Do you know what happened? Dan Taiying panted for a moment and asked. Tan Taiyu secretly glanced at Qing Su behind her and shook her head in the end. We don't know what happened either. The sea beasts split up when they passed by the Dragon Song River and the Luchuan River. We chased after the sea beasts in the Dragon Song River for a while and killed them. When we returned, the sea beasts had already retreated. That's exactly why we hurried over so quickly. We wanted to see if we could be of any help. Luchuan River. Luchuan River is just a small river and is not suitable for sea beasts to live in. These sea beasts went to Luchuan River, there must be a reason. As Dan Taiying said this, he glanced at Xing Hui who was standing behind Dan Taiyu and said in a deep voice, I'll send people to investigate later, but for now, help me. We'll go to Sea Breeze Fort. Only when the sea beasts in Sea Breeze Fort have retreated will the crisis of our North Sea city be truly resolved. Sister, do you want to rest? Now is not the time to rest. Tan Taiyin's words left no room for doubt. Seeing this, Dan Taiyu did not say anything. She just sent out a part of her heavy water Jin Qi to heal her, hoping that she would recover as soon as possible. Dan Taiying was swift and decisive. He pointed out a person with light injuries and asked him to stay behind to take care of the 4 seriously injured people. He then gathered the remaining 3 people with light injuries and went straight to Sea Breeze Fort with Dan Taiyu and Xing Hui. However, before they arrived at Sea Breeze Fort, a team of more than 20 Jinqi Realm and Awakening Realm experts under the leadership of General Manager Wu Yu came from the direction of Sea Breeze Fort. When they saw Dan Taiying, Dan Taiyu, and Xing Hui, Wu Yu's tired face suddenly showed joy. Miss, third Miss, Uncle Wu, you're here. Has the crisis of Sea Breeze Fort been resolved? It has been resolved. Just when we couldn't defend Sea Breeze Fort, the sea beasts outside Sea Breeze Fort suddenly became chaotic. It was as if their leader was beheaded, and they suddenly became a group of dragons without a leader. In addition, Master made a prompt decision and used all the spirit source stones in the fort at the same time. The giant spirit source cannons were activated at full power. Immediately, those low-intelligence beasts were blown away in one fell swoop, and Sea Breeze Fort was protected. Wu Yu said with some relief, after Master defended Sea Breeze Fort, he was worried that you would be in danger. He hurriedly sent me to reinforce you. Thank God, both of you are safe. Suddenly became a group of dragons without a leader. Dan Taiying glanced at Xing Hui again from the corner of his eyes, but he did not ask in detail. Instead, he was really relieved. It seems that the disaster of our North Sea city is really over. Chapter 109. The calamity of North Sea City had come to an end. However, the turmoil brought about by the sea beast's attack was far from over. In order to defend against the sea beast's attack, North Sea City had paid an extremely heavy price. More than half of the city's forces had been lost. In particular, the core strength of the True Energy Realm and Awakening Realm cultivators had been reduced to 20 to 30%. North Sea City, which had originally been ranked in the middle of the Dragon Whale Nation's rankings, had fallen to the lowest level. Even the city lord's throne had become somewhat precarious. Tan Taiyu stood on the dilapidated walls of Sea Breeze Fortress. She watched as the remaining guards carried the corpses and buried them. Her eyes immediately reddened. Especially when she saw some familiar faces, she couldn't help but cry. Xing Hui stood on the city wall, similarly feeling the cruelty of living overseas. This time, they had been lucky enough to defend against the sea beast's attack. If they hadn't, and Sea Breeze Fort had been breached, what kind of fate would the mortals living under North Sea City's jurisdiction face? The people would be plunged into misery and suffering. Xing Hui, thank you. Thank you for coming out to help. Otherwise, our North Sea City might really have faced a calamity. After a while, Dan Taiyu came to Xing Hui's side, her eyes red. No need. As a guest elder of North Sea City, while I enjoy the benefits of being a guest elder, I am duty-bound to help when North Sea City is in danger. Over the years, North Sea City has recruited over 100 guest elders. Not long ago, there were 60 or so guest elders residing in North Sea City. However, when these guest elders learned of Sea Breeze Fort's crisis, less than 10 of them were truly willing to help. Most of them found an excuse to leave. But because they are only guest elders, we have no right to force them to stay, HM? Xing Hui was slightly startled, but then he understood. Guest elders, they didn't necessarily have to advance or retreat together with North Sea City. Most of the time, guest elders were only a deterrent force, responsible for shouting and cheering. When faced with true danger, it wasn't uncommon for them to retreat halfway. For example, if Xing Hui wasn't willing to take risks, North Sea City couldn't stop him. Miss Yu has saved my life. Since North Sea City is in trouble, I can't just stand by and watch. Xing Hui said. Thank you. Dan Taiyu said in a low voice. At this moment, the city lord of North Sea City, Dan Tating, stepped forward and said, Xing Hui King, I've heard about you from you, and Een. When our North Sea City was in trouble, you were still able to stand by our North Sea City's side. We are sincerely grateful for this. Now, I would like to invite Xing Hui King to be the captain of our North Sea City's Imperial Guard. What does Xing Hui King think? A captain of the Imperial Army was different from a guest chamberlain. A guest chamberlain was free and could leave at any time, but although a captain of the Imperial Army held an important position in North Sea City, it was equivalent to having the brand of North Sea City branded on them. Leaving North Sea City was no easy matter. I appreciate Mayor Dantai's good intentions, but the position of captain of the Imperial Guards is of great importance. I'm only a Zhenqi realm cultivator, it's really difficult for me to shoulder such a heavy responsibility. I hope Mayor can take back his order. Xing Hui cupped his hands. Dan Tating could hear the tactful rejection in Xing Hui's tone. However, he did not feel embarrassed and only sighed with regret, it's a pity. However, Xing Hui King has made such a great contribution, so it's impossible for my North Sea City to remain indifferent. I've heard that Xing Hui King cultivates a fire attribute cultivation method. Coincidentally, my North Sea City has a high-grade fire attribute spirit stone and I've bestowed it to Xing Hui King. At the same time, I've promoted Xing Hui King to an upper guest chamberlain, allowing him to enjoy the same treatment as the deputy city lord of North Sea City. Thank you, Mayor. Regarding these, Xing Hui did not refuse. Although the high-grade fire attribute Spirit Stone could not be compared to the Flame Essence core in Jiuying's head, he could clearly see that there was only one Flame Essence core in the sacred beast Jiuying's body. After refining the essence, his Jin Qi could only break through a small realm, which was still far from the Qi refining realm. Next, he still needed enough high-grade fire attribute Spirit Stones to refine his Jin Qi. Otherwise, just relying on absorbing the essence of the sun every day, who knows how long it would take. After this battle, North Sea City suffered heavy losses. The 8 spirit refining realm experts were all dead, including the 3 captains of the Dragon Eagle squad and the Eagle Wing that guarded the dam with Dan Taiying. Now, there were only 4 spirit refining realm experts left in the entire North Sea City. As such, Xing Hui, who had the strength of a spirit refining realm expert, and Dan Tating, had to be roped in. Along with the death of the quasi-holy beast, the Jiuying, the crisis of the Sea Breeze stronghold was resolved. Even though there were still sea beasts that came to the Sea Breeze stronghold from time to time, intending to use the Dragon Roar River to go deep into the continent to stir up trouble, their numbers and scale were far inferior to before. Even if the Sea Breeze stronghold was extremely damaged, the attacks of these sea beasts were still repelled one by one due to the presence of the city governor, Tan Tai Ting. Time quietly passed, and half a month passed. In this half a month, the attacks of the sea beasts continued, but due to the lack of intensity, the people of Sea Breeze Fort finally had a chance to breathe and gradually recovered from the disaster half a month ago. At this moment, in Sea Breeze Fort's meeting hall, Mayor Dan Tating, Miss Dan Taiying, who was originally in charge of overseeing Sea Breeze Fort, as well as Wu Yu, Xing Hui, and a group of true Qi realm experts were gathered together. Looking at this trend, there must have been some unforeseen event that caused the sea to become chaotic. I don't know how long this chaos will last, and our Sea Breeze Fort's various resources are seriously insufficient. Fortunately, we have killed a lot of sea beasts and spirit beasts during this period of time. Now, we need someone to bring these corpses to Shaoyang Sea City and sell them in exchange for sufficient resources. Only then can we safely defend Sea Breeze Fort. Last time, it was Third Miss and I who went to Shaoyang Sea City. This time, let us go together. Wu Yu stood up and said, me and Xing Hui King, with the 2 of us, we should be able to keep these corpses safe. Dan Tating glanced at Xing Hui, and seeing that he didn't have any objections, he nodded, then let's do it. Xing Hui King, I'll have to trouble you to make this trip. This is my duty, Yi Zichen said. Xing Hui stood up and nodded. Good, I'll order people to load these valuable corpses onto the ships. Dan Tating said, and stood up. Immediately, everyone dispersed and went to do their own duties. However, just as Dan Taiyu was about to leave, Dan Tating suddenly called out, come here, Father has something to say to you. Father, what are your orders? Dan Taiyu bowed slightly. Dan Taiying seemed to have guessed something, and his expression turned solemn. Father, is this related to the future of our North Sea City? Dan Tating nodded at Dan Taiying, and then turned to his youngest daughter Dan Taiyu. I've noticed that you and Xing Hui have been quite close recently. What do you think of Xing Hui? Xing Hui. When Tan Taiyu heard her father ask about this, she immediately replied, Father, you want to ask if Qing Su is trustworthy, right? I feel that Xing Hui doesn't have any ill intentions towards our North Sea City. Speaking of this, she couldn't help but think of the scene where Xing Hui single-handedly fought the Fourth Order half-holy Jiuying. With the strength he had displayed at that time, if he really wanted to attack North Sea City wouldn't be able to resist. No. I'm not asking you if he has any ill intentions towards our North Sea City, but rather, what do you think of his character? I feel that he's quite good, just that he doesn't like to talk much. Then if I were to betroth you to him, would you be willing? Dan Taiyu and Dan Taiying were both shocked. Father. You. Little sister, she. Don't speak. Dan Tating waved his hand. To tell you the truth. 10 years ago, I obtained a treasure, a fire attribute treasure that can help others break through to the spirit refining realm. However, you should know that there are too few people who cultivate fire attribute chi overseas, and it's hard to sell it for a decent price. All these years, although I wanted to exchange it for cultivation resources, I couldn't find a trustworthy buyer. Dan Tating sighed as he said this. The overseas was different from the inland. If he didn't know the background of the buyer, the transaction would immediately turn into a robbery. At that time, this treasure would not bring him an opportunity, but a disaster. Dan Taiyu looked at Dan Tating and composed herself. Thinking of what her father said about betrothing her to Tsing Hui, her pretty little face blushed and her voice became softer. Then father, you're thinking of, you should know the rules overseas. It has always been the case that the strong are respected. Our Dantai family occupies thousands of kilometers of Beihai City's resources. Who knows how many people are jealous of it? Now, our Beihai City's vitality has been greatly damaged. We have lost more than half of our spirit refining realm cultivators, and the true Qi and awakening realm cultivators have also suffered heavy losses. As a result, those peak spirit refining realm cultivators who have yet to occupy a city would be tempted. At this point, Tan Tai Ting could not help but sigh. Qing Su has already reached great success in his true Qi at such a young age, and has even cultivated holy grade true Qi. His battle prowess is not inferior to spirit refining cultivators. It can be seen that his future is limitless. If the two of you get married, it will be the same as being a family. At that time, I will give him this treasure to ensure that his true Qi reaches perfection, and even his spirit fuses with his Qi, stepping into the realm of astral Qi in one go. At that time, a holy grade astral Qi cultivator will be comparable to several spirit refining cultivators. Our Beihai City's strength will not decrease but increase instead, and will definitely make those who covet our city retreat. Dan Tating's words immediately made Dan Taiyu understand the crisis that Beihai City was facing. Survival overseas had always been cruel. The law of the strong being superior was deeply ingrained in people's hearts. Although Beihai City is a subordinate of the Dragon Whale Emperor, in reality, other than those spirit refining realm cultivators who directly rely on him, he did not care who the Beihai City's city lord was. As long as Beihai City's yearly offerings were not small, it was fine. Now that Beihai City was attacked by sea beasts, its vitality was greatly damaged. At this time, if someone really wanted to loot a burning house, the Dragon Whale Emperor would definitely not come out to protect it. Once Beihai City changes hands, as the original city lord, Dantai's family members Tan Taiyu's face turned ghastly pale at the thought of the possible outcome. Father, is the situation of our Dantai family really that dangerous? Dan Tating nodded. I reckon that it won't be long before the surrounding powers hear the news and move. I hope that you will consider this matter carefully. Dan Tating said earnestly to Dan Taiyu. Then, he handed the time to the two sisters and turned to leave. Chapter 110. Sister, if you don't have any feelings for Tsing Hui, then don't force yourself. If worse comes to worst, I'll personally go to Heavenly Wood City and marry the son of the Heavenly Wood City Lord. The Heavenly Wood City Lord is one of the only 3 Unity of Spirit Realm experts in our Dragon Whale country. If our North Sea City can form an alliance with them, then the other cities will definitely not dare to have any ideas about our North Sea City. No, the son of the Heavenly Wood City Lord has an extremely bad reputation. These years, he has harmed countless children of good families. Back then, when he met you, sister, he spoke frivolously and touched you. If it weren't for the fact that our North Sea City was at its peak and that the Heavenly Wood City Lord had just broken through to the Unity of Spirit realm not long ago and his realm was still unstable, I'm afraid he would have forced you to marry him. Sister, if you marry this kind of person, you'll be like a lamb entering a tiger's den. Isn't it just marrying a person? It doesn't matter who I marry. As long as he can help our North Sea City survive this disaster, so what if the son of the Heavenly Wood City Lord has a bad reputation? Dan Taiying said with an indifferent expression. However, Dan Taiyu, who was extremely familiar with her, could still see a trace of deeply hidden sadness in her eyes. Seeing this, a trace of determination flashed across Dan Taiyu's pretty face. "Sister, don't worry. I know what I should do. After all, I'm a member of the Dan Tai family. These years, father and sister have brought me a lot of benefits, and with father and sister's help, I've even cultivated holy true qi. Now that our Dan Tai family is in trouble, it's time for me to contribute. Moreover, as for Tsing Hui, I still have a good impression of him. It's just that we've only known each other for a short period of time, so I can't accept it all of a sudden. If it really comes to that, I won't reject this marriage." "Are you serious? Don't force yourself." Dan Taiying looked at Dan Taiyu. "It's true," Dan Taiyu said with a serious face. Dan Taiying stared at her sister for a while. With her understanding of her sister, she wasn't lying. But, Dan Taiyu couldn't help but feel a trace of worry when she recalled the formidable strength Tsing Hui had displayed when he killed the half-holy beast and the numerous secrets he possessed. Even though she was willing, Tsing Hui might not agree. However, this thought only lasted for a moment before it was cut off by her. North Sea City was in a crisis. She had to think of a way to resolve this matter herself. She couldn't let these details worry her elder sister and father. "But what?" "It's nothing. We'll make a trip to Shaoyang Sea City right away. If we can purchase another piece of dark sky stone, we'll definitely be able to compete for the position of champion of the treasure presentation assembly. At that time, we'll request the protection of the Dragon Whale Emperor. Not to mention the long term, but at least for the next 10 years, our North Sea City will be able to sit back and relax. The void nether stone can only be chanced upon by luck. Last time, it was a coincidence that allowed us to buy one at a low price. If we want to buy another one, we'll need great luck. Even luck alone isn't enough. We'll have to pay a price that's several times higher than the previous void nether stone in order to buy it." Dan Taiying shook his head. He didn't have much hope in his younger sister's words. However, Dan Taiying smiled mischievously. "Elder sister, don't forget that my luck has always been very good. It was a coincidence that I obtained the holy rank cultivation technique, awakened the winged dragon bloodline, and cultivated the holy rank Shin Qi. Even on a long trip, I was able to come across the corpse of a third-rank sea beast on the road. Maybe this time, we'll really be able to obtain another piece of dark sky stone in Shaoyang Sea City." Dan Taiying was startled. Thinking of the various coincidences that his younger sister had mentioned, he actually didn't know how to refute. Because what she said was completely true. Thinking of this, Dan Taiying's mood improved slightly. "I don't believe that others can buy the void nether stone, but if it's you, my younger sister, it's really possible. Then I'll look forward to this trip to Shaoyang Sea City." Time was of the essence, so the people of Sea Wind Fort did not delay. Working together, they piled the valuable sea beasts onto a relatively large warship. With Dan Taiyu as the leader, Wu Yu and Tsing Hui as the support, the two spirit-refining cultivators, immediately set off. The large warship rumbled as it rushed into the sea of clouds, quickly heading towards the direction of Shaoyang Sea City. The warship that Tsing Hui and the others were on was a high-grade warship. The quality of the warship was extremely good. If it was converted into a divine weapon, it would be comparable to a third-rank warship. Its average flying speed could reach 240 kilometers per hour. Moreover, warships were different from flying swords. As long as the direction was adjusted, it could fly for 24 hours without stopping. As such, they could fly for nearly 6,000 kilometers in a day. Shaoyang Sea City was the largest sea city within a radius of 40,000 kilometers. It was only 19,000 kilometers away from North Sea City. At sunset on the third day, a huge volcanic island appeared in front of them. The volcano island's mountain peak was so tall that it pierced through the clouds. At the peak of the mountain, there were 16 spaceports that were more than 400 meters tall. The 16 spaceports were only open to the outside. Inside, there was a large amount of precious glass. With the 16 spaceports as the pillars, a huge tower was constructed. The tower was divided into layers, forming a huge shopping mall similar to a modern society. Every time I see Shaoyang Sea City's magnificent building, it makes me sigh in awe. It's really worthy of being called the legendary sea city that took tens of thousands of immortal-level cultivators 10 years to build. Tan Taiyu watched as the battleship stopped at the platform that extended out and sighed with fascination. Tens of thousands of immortal-level cultivators. Seems like Shaoyang Sea City's background is not simple. Xing Hui said. Of course. Wu Yu smiled. Shaoyang Sea City is one of the 4 most famous sea cities in the Inland Sea. Although it's a low-end market, the treasures that are produced from time to time are precious enough to make the elders of the 10 Saint clans jealous. If Shaoyang Sea City doesn't have a strong background, I'm afraid that it would have been destroyed by the overlords of the spirit and chi integration stage. As far as I know, there are 22 known elders in Shaoyang Sea City. Among these 22 elders, the weakest one is an immortal level rank 4 and is on the Divine Dragon leaderboard. As for their backer, it's the 10 Sha of Gojoseon, Zhua Xiao, who is ranked 29th on the Divine Dragon leaderboard. He's a great evil in the Green Boundary. Green Boundary. Most of the overseas forces were experts of the immortal level rank 1, rank 2, and rank 3. None of the 10 Saint clans could be compared to the overseas forces in terms of the number of experts of the immortal level rank 4 and rank 5. The reason was that the number of experts of the immortal level rank 4 and rank 5 would decrease. Even if these experts offended the disciples of the 10 Saint clans, as long as they didn't offend them too much, the 10 Saint clans wouldn't necessarily kill them. Instead, they would think of ways to recruit them into the 10 Saint clans and give them the position of a consecrator or a guest to supplement their strength. The spirit and chi uniting realm warriors were not a big deal. However, when it came to the blue darkness realm warriors who could fly on their swords and travel in the air, they were much more difficult to deal with. The 10 great saint sects treated them even more leniently. Even if they accidentally killed a true disciple of the 10 great saint sects, as long as they could go to the 10 great saint sects to apologize, offer generous gifts, and join the 10 great saint sects, the 10 great saint sects would turn a blind eye to it. After all, these experts were the decisive battle force. Even the 10 saint clans might not have many of them. There are only a few experts of the Green Boundary realm in the entire overseas. A force with 1 expert of the Green Boundary realm could indeed be called the top force. That's right. Therefore, the Shaoyang Sea City is a rare peaceful place in the sea. Many experts of the overseas have to follow the rules of the Shaoyang Sea City. They can't use force. Once they use force, they will be hunted down by the entire Shaoyang Sea City's Elders Association and even the 10 Sha of Gojoseon, Zhua Xiao. Wu Yu paused for a moment. Of course, if you think your strength is amazing, then it's a different story. In the past, the Morning Cloud Sea City of the 4 Great Sea City was plundered by a peerless demon of the immortal level rank 6. Not only were many treasures in the Sea City plundered, but countless experts were killed and injured. The number of experts of the immortal level rank 4 who died was more than double digits. Xing Hui nodded. Peerless experts of the immortal level rank 6 can live well inland. As long as they don't deliberately make an enemy of the 10 Saint clans, they can live a carefree life. There is no need for them to go overseas. There are many unpredictable dangers in the sea. No one knows what kind of terrifying sea monsters are hidden in the sea. Not to mention an immortal level 6 powerhouse, even a saint level powerhouse who was in charge of the 10 sacred clans would be in danger of dying if they were unlucky enough to encounter a saint level sea area dominator if they stepped into the sea rashly. Xing Hui King, the best reputations in the Shaoyang Sea City are the Bashi Chamber of Commerce and the Hiza Chamber of Commerce. Among them, the Bashi Chamber of Commerce is low-end while the Hiza Chamber of Commerce is relatively high-end. Not only do they have cultivation treasures that true chi and spirit refining cultivators need, they also sell rank 4 divine weapons and rank 4 armors. If you have time, you can go and take a look. How long will we stay here? It will take 2 days for the warship to be repaired. We will leave in 3 days. Wu Yu paused for a moment before continuing. Of course, if Tsing Hui has something to do, we can postpone it for a few days. However, we have to return in 10 days. Because in 12 days, it will be the Longjing country's decennial treasure offering assembly. We have to return 2 days before the treasure offering assembly at the latest. I have something to sell, but 10 days is enough. Dan Taiyu glanced at Tsing Hui and guessed what he wanted to sell. Okay, after we stay in the Bashi Chamber of Commerce's restaurant, Tsing Hui can do as you please. If there is anything, I will inform Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui nodded. The group quickly arrived at the Bashi Chamber of Commerce. Although the prices of the restaurants in Shaoyangxi City were high, Wu Yu and the others were spirit-refining cultivators and represented Beihai City. Thus, it was not difficult for them to rent a courtyard. After settling down, Tsing Hui did not stay in the courtyard for long. He went straight out of the restaurant and rented a warehouse in Shaoyangxi City. He put down the corpse of the semi-holy beast Jiuying and then went to the Hiza Chamber of Commerce that Wu Yu said was relatively high-end. The interior of the Hiza Chamber of Commerce was filled with a natural aura. It was obviously just a large courtyard in the air, but the interior was filled with man-made mountains, rivers, pavilions, and streams. At a glance, it was no different from the imperial gardens in the inland. Seeing Tsing Hui enter, a young female cultivator with a delicate appearance and cultivation in the awakening realm immediately greeted him. "Mister, how can I help you?" "I need to see your chairman. I have a big deal to discuss with your Hiza Chamber of Commerce." Chapter 111. Just as Tsing Hui entered the Hiza Chamber of Commerce, Jin Yu's figure appeared in Nalan Fei's personal space once again. Tell me. Why do you have to enter my personal space to discuss in detail?" Nalan Fei looked at the young girl in front of her and said seriously. "It's related to your friend called Pak Hui. Qing Yu, you should know that I'm in the chaos level, right?" Jin Yu said mysteriously. "Of course. You're the same as me. You've received the inheritance of a high-ranking deacon in the Sky Vault. Later on, you had a fortuitous encounter, and your chaos level is even higher than mine, reaching level 13. Nalan Fei said as she stared at Jin Yu, feeling a little strange. Is the difference between the Qing Wan bloodline and the Holy Qilin bloodline really that big? I've received the inheritance for more than 20 years, and I've only received 3 or 4 fortuitous encounters. The items I've received that added up to less than 40 Taoist rhymes. But you only inherited level 11. Now, in less than 30 years, you've risen 2 levels in the chaos level. That's to say, you've obtained more than 200 Taoist rhymes. Could this be the true power of the auspicious divine beast? It's naturally impossible for me to obtain 200 Taoist rhymes just by relying on the auspicious characteristics of the Qilin divine beast alone. My amplification characteristics are different from yours. You're constantly amplifying recovery, talent, personal space, and so on. But for me, among the 13 levels of chaos, other than level 3 comprehension, the other aspect that reached level 3 is luck. This is the true essence of my fortuitous encounters. Luck was also one of the basic characteristics of the Son of Chaos. Nalan Fei had thought about whether to increase her luck value to make it easier for her to cooperate with the auspicious divine beast bloodline, Qing Wan. But like most experts who believed in their own fate and not the heavens, she was not willing to entrust her future to illusory luck and fortuitous encounters. That was why she did not choose the luck characteristic. Now it seemed that, this characteristic, might not necessarily be inferior to comprehension, recovery, and personal talent. Alright, I'm not going to talk to you about the distribution of my traits. I'm going to talk about your friend Pak Hui. Half a month ago, I met him and used appraisal on him, but he bounced off my appraisal. Do you know what that means? Nalan Fei hadn't noticed this problem before. She was only dissatisfied with Jin Yu's behavior of spying on Tsing Hui. But now that she thought about it carefully, his chaos level is higher than yours. Nalan Fei was slightly surprised. A moment later, she seemed to realize something and shook her head. It's also possible that his appraisal level is higher than yours. Apart from being able to detect other people's information, appraisal also has the ability to conceal one's own information. The path I walk is the path of fortuitous encounters. Sometimes, when an opportunity appears in front of me but I just have to miss it or can't comprehend it, when I chose the Tier 3 luck attribute, I also chose the Tier 3 comprehension and appraisal. Tier 3 appraisal. Do you think his appraisal level is higher than mine? Tier 3 appraisal. Aside from eccentric oddities like Jin Yu, very few people would raise their appraisal to Tier 3. It was already good enough to give them a Tier 1 appraisal. Some people wouldn't even choose appraisal at all. The principle of appraisal is that it's impossible to appraise a son of chaos whose appraisal and chaos levels are above one's own. Moreover, this principle is mutually complementary. For example, I'm a rank 13 son of chaos. A rank 1 appraisal can't appraise the attributes of a rank 13 son of chaos, but a rank 2 appraisal can. As for a rank 3 appraisal, even if he's a rank 14 son of chaos, I'll still be able to see the depths of his level. When he reaches rank 15, I won't be able to obtain his information, but he still won't be able to detect any traces of me using appraisal. If he wants to detect that I'm using appraisal on him and repel it, you're saying Pak Hui is a son of chaos at Tier 16 or higher? Jin Yu nodded. How is that possible? There are only a handful of sons of chaos above Tier 30 in the world, and every one of them is a leader or president of a top chaos organization, let alone a son of chaos who has reached Tier 32. When a son of chaos reaches Tier 30, he opens the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, and there are countless treasures inside. It's very difficult for anyone to resist the temptation of the many precious treasures in the Chaos Treasure Pavilion and store their Taoist rhymes to break through to the mysterious Tier 35. It's impossible for him to inherit a Tier 32 son of chaos. It's possible that the son of chaos he inherited isn't of a high level, but his opportunities are astounding. Just like me, I directly rose by 2 chaos levels in a short few decades. Impossible. Nalan Fei shook her head. It shouldn't have been long since he obtained the chaos inheritance. Moreover, based on his cultivation method, he didn't awaken an auspicious holy beast like you, which increases one's opportunities. Hee. Actually, that's not the point. The point is that he looks like a very outstanding stock with great potential. As a good friend, I'm reminding you to grasp this opportunity well and not miss it. Jin Yu grinned and said, completely without the image of a virtuous lady. Nalan Fei frowned. What do you mean grasp this opportunity well? Don't talk nonsense. Jin Yu didn't know, but Nalan Fei was very clear about Pak Hui's background. Strictly speaking, the two of them were directly related. Nalan Fei's attitude made Jin Yu's eyes light up slightly. You don't have this idea. That's great. When are you going to introduce him to me? If you don't make a move, I'll do it. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to latch onto a powerful thigh. You're not serious at all. Alright, I'm leaving. Although nothing has happened during this period of time, this calmness makes me feel rather strange. Or are you worried about that small place of yours? If it were up to me, you might as well ask your master, the Purple Sky Taoist Master, to send a clone over. By then, all the problems will be solved. Do you want the whole world to know that I, a puny immortal level cultivator, have already entered the Sky Vault? Quickly come and kill me and seize my opportunities. Nalan Fei shook her head. Alright. Then think of a way to solve it yourself. Don't forget, you're a member of the Sky Vault. Since the establishment of the Sky Vault, we've never been afraid of anyone. I understand. Then that's it. Sigh, I have to cultivate too. The Green Netherworld realm requires one to be one with the heavens and understand the mysteries of vitality. Only then can one be at the intersection of the heavens and man and control the air. Why is this realm so difficult? I've been stuck at it for 3 or 4 years, it's only been 3 or 4 years. What's the hurry? Who told you not to point out such a necessary divine skill like the divine art? Sigh, I'm so regretful. When will I find another divine art? I won't ask for much. Just give me 33 points and let me reach the 14th level. By then, I'll immediately point out the divine art. 33 Taoist rhymes. Nalan Fei waved her hand and didn't bother to pay attention to her anymore. Soon, Jean Yu left. After Jean Yu left, Nalan Fei gradually calmed down and carefully recalled what she had just said. A 16th level son of primal chaos. Nalan Fei muttered to herself, looks like Tsing Hui's opportunity isn't simple. Bei Zhao's death must be because he obtained a supreme divine item that could overturn the situation of the primal chaos shrine. Because he accidentally leaked the tip of the iceberg, he was killed. Before he died, he projected an incarnation to hide this supreme divine item in the desolate Cloud Mountain range and set up a restriction. Even if that restriction has a trick to attack, it isn't something a Saint Realm expert can't break. This secret involves the life and death of a high-level son of primal chaos. I didn't even tell my master. In order to prevent the person who killed Bei Zhao from linking it to me because I obtained Bei Zhao's inheritance, I need to quickly take out that supreme divine item to prevent any undue delay. It's not easy for me to break through the restriction alone. But with Tsing Hui and cultivating to the prominent divine realm, there's some hope. Cultivating to the prominent divine realm and using the divine art to boost to the saint realm, with the two of them taking turns to attack, it might be possible to break through the restriction. Young Master, I am the Vice Chairman of the Hiza Chamber of Commerce, Long Yufeng. May I know what Young Master wants to sell? In the Hiza Chamber of Commerce of Shaoyangxi City, Tsing Hui met with the Vice Chairman of the Hiza Chamber of Commerce. Although he was only a vice-chairman, his cultivation had reached the spirit-refining realm and his earth qi was dense. Compared to Wu Yu who was ranked in the top 3 in Beihai City, he was not inferior. I have a corpse of a fierce beast that I need to sell. However, that corpse is too big and inconvenient to transport. I would like to request for Chairman Long to bring some people to accompany me and estimate the price. Corpse of a fierce beast, hearing that, Long Yufeng was slightly disappointed. Although the price of a fierce beast's corpse was not low, it was obviously not a big deal. However, following Tsing Hui's next sentence, Long Yufeng suddenly stood up. What? The corpse of a rank 4 half-sacred beast. Young Master, you're talking about a rank 4 half-sacred beast. Not a fierce beast. Not a spirit beast. A half-sacred beast that is about to transform. That's right. Good, good, good. If what Young Master said is true, our Hiza Chamber of Commerce will definitely buy this corpse at a high price. A rank 4 half-sacred beast's corpse cannot be measured by ordinary prices. Some experts who have mastered the method of refining blood essence can even extract low-purity sacred beast blood from the corpse. Thus, I only intend to use the Hiza Chamber of Commerce's channel to sell this corpse through an auction. This, although Long Yufeng was somewhat regretful, he still said, Young Master, please be at ease. Our Hiza Chamber of Commerce has been established in Shaoyangxi City for more than 400 years and has always been known for its reputation. We will definitely sell it at a high price. Good. Tsing Hui nodded and immediately brought Long Yufeng and the appraiser of the Hiza Chamber of Commerce to the warehouse that he had previously rented. Long Yufeng could not help but sigh when he saw the jiuying of the half-sacred beast that was about to transform. Young Master, you are really lucky to be able to come across such a well-preserved corpse of a half-sacred beast. Although this half-sacred beast only has 6 heads and its core has been taken away, if you can find a way to extract a few drops of sacred beast blood, there is indeed a great hope. Our Hiza Chamber of Commerce will vigorously advertise for Young Master. After the sale, our Hiza Chamber of Commerce will only take half of the processing fee. Thank you, but my time is limited. Please set the date of the auction to a week later and bid with high-grade fire spirit stones. High-grade fire spirit stones. No problem, there is no lack of fire spirit stones overseas. But a week of advertising may not be enough to sell it at the highest price, just a week. Thank you. Seeing Tsing Hui's firm attitude, Long Yufeng could only agree, all right, we will arrange it now. Chapter 112. The Heza Chamber of Commerce had been in Shaoyangxi City for 400 years. Its influence was not something that ordinary merchants could compare to. The news had already spread to every corner of Shaoyangxi City. In Shaoyangxi City, there would often be spies sent by the major forces in the nearby seas to pay attention to the movements of Shaoyangxi City, lest they miss out on the real treasures. When they found out that the Heza Chamber of Commerce actually had the corpse of a rank 4 half-holy beast Jiuying for sale, countless cultivators who cultivated similar abilities were alarmed. For a time, there was an endless stream of people coming to ask for a price. This scene made Tsing Hui secretly rejoice. Fortunately, he used the Heza Chamber of Commerce to spread the news. If he sold it himself, he was afraid that he would definitely be annoyed by the endless stream of cultivators. As time passed, the news spread out. Cultivators from other islands who were able to arrived one after another. Magnificent warships arrived and docked at Shaoyangxi City's spaceport. One day before the official auction, there were already 102 people who signed up for the auction. Among these 102 people, most of them were spirit-refining cultivators. However, there were also 6 people who had reached the spirit-chi unification realm. Among them, the strongest was not much inferior to the Dragon Whale Emperor. Peng Peng. On this day, Tsing Hui was holding the Jiuying's flame essence core and absorbing the flame essence into his body. Just as he was refining it, there was a knock on the door. Seeing this, Tsing Hui had no choice but to stop his cultivation. He kept the flame essence core and opened the door. Didn't I say not to let anyone disturb me? A man at the awakening realm was waiting outside the door. When he saw Qing Su, he hurriedly apologized, "Young master, Master Xian Fan, ranked 692 on the Divine Dragon rankings, has specially come to visit young master. Master Xian Fan is an esteemed guest of our restaurant, so we can't refuse his request. Please forgive us for disturbing you, young master. I've already reported this to the president, and he has waived your room fees for the next few days." Hyun Fan. Although Tsing Hui had some understanding of the overseas experts, he could not remember all of them in a short period of time. However, the 692nd ranking on the Divine Dragon list was enough for him to understand that the person in front of him must be a giant who had achieved the 4 realms of longevity. Spirit and Qi as one could easily obtain a high status anywhere. Even if they went to the 10 great sacred sects, they would still be able to become an elder. The request of such a person was naturally not something the manager of a restaurant under the Bashi Chamber of Commerce could refuse. "Invite him in," Tsing Hui said. Not long after, a man who looked to be in his 30s walked in with a faint smile on his face. Although this man's expression was calm, it wasn't the kind of calmness where one's heart was as still as water and wouldn't be alarmed even if the sky collapsed. Instead, it was the kind of calmness where everything was in his hands and he didn't fear anyone. Rather than saying that he was indifferent, it was more like a kind of self-confidence and pride that was carved into his bones. "Your Excellency Hyun Fan, may I know why you have come to visit?" Hyun Fan glanced at Tsing Hui and saw that he was only at the Jiuying realm. His calm expression couldn't help but become more serious. "I heard that Your Excellency Tsing Hui is selling the corpse of a 4th-order half-holy Jiuying beast. Coincidentally, when I went out not long ago, a 4th-order sea beast dared to besiege me and I killed it. Considering that my cultivation method requires the blood of a Jiuying, how about I exchange this 4th-order sea beast corpse with you?" As soon as Hyun Fan finished speaking, Tsing Hui's expression immediately turned cold. "Since I have already sold this half-holy Jiuying beast corpse to the Heza Chamber of Commerce, I naturally can't go back on my words. If you are worried about the Heza Chamber of Commerce, you don't have to worry. I know the boss behind the Heza Chamber of Commerce. He is Guza, ranked 704 on the Divine Dragon list. As long as I speak to him, I believe that the Hiza Chamber of Commerce won't pursue this matter with you. Hyun Fan said as he stood up and directly reached out to grab Tsing Hui. I didn't do any anti-corrosion treatment on that fourth-order sea beast. If we wait any longer, the effects will be greatly reduced. Alright, there's no time to lose. Come with me to the warehouse immediately. Ha! Tsing Hui's expression changed. A surge of true chi suddenly erupted from his body and immediately bounced off Hyun Fan's right hand. Whether I go or not is not up to you, Sir Hyun Fan. This is Shaoyang Sea City. Do you want to make a move here? Since I have already decided to sell the Jiuying Beast Corpse, the final owner of the Jiuying Beast Corpse will naturally depend on the bidding price tomorrow. If you offer a high enough price, the Jiuying Beast Corpse will naturally belong to you. You actually don't want to exchange. I have already prepared the fourth-order Sea Beast Corpse. Now that I have spent a lot of effort to transport it to Shaoyang Sea City, you actually said that you don't want to exchange it. Are you playing with me? You really don't put me, Blood Lord Hyun Fan, in your eyes at all. Hyun Fan glared at Tsing Hui. A cold murderous intent erupted from his body as he coldly stared at Tsing Hui. What kind of status did Hyun Fan have? He was ranked 692 on the Divine Dragon list. In the vast sea region, as long as he was careful, he could do whatever he wanted. Even if it was the Shaoyang Sea City, one of the 4 big sea cities, as long as he gave some face to the people in power in Shaoyang Sea City, they would not dare to criticize him. With his status, he was willing to use the corpse of a 4th-rank sea beast to exchange for the 9-headed infant's corpse with this puny true energy realm cultivator. He had already given this puny true energy realm cultivator enough face. But now, he actually dared to refuse. Thinking of this, Hyun Fan's gaze towards Tsing Hui became colder. Tsing Hui glanced at Hyun Fan. He understood that this Hyun Fan came here to force a trade. If it wasn't for the Shaoyang Sea City's rules, he wouldn't have prepared the 4th-order Sea Beast Corpse. Blood Lord Hyun Fan, right? Using an ordinary Sea Beast Corpse to exchange for a half-holy Jiuying Beast Corpse. Do you think it's possible? A brain is a good thing, but unfortunately you don't have one. Get out. Tsing Hui, right? Very good. For Hyun Fan to be able to cultivate to this level, he naturally wasn't a brainless person. Seeing that Tsing Hui wasn't affected by his killing intent at all, he immediately withdrew his aura and returned to his previous calm and confident attitude. Don't be in such a hurry to make a decision. I know that you come from the Dragon Whale Island and are a guest of North Sea City's mayor, Dan Tating. Before you refuse me, you better carefully inquire about my name, Blood Lord Hyun Fan. I'll give you 12 hours to give me the half-holy beast corpse before the auction starts. This way, you can at least get a 4th-order sea beast corpse as compensation. Otherwise, trust me, it'll be too late for regrets. Do you need me to call the enforcers of the Shaoyang Sea City to throw you out? Tsing Hui remained unmoved. Good. 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 Hyun Fan laughed loudly. I'll give face to the 10 Sha of Gojoseon and not deal with you in the Shaoyang Sea City, but you better pray that you never leave the Shaoyang Sea City. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Once Hyun Fan left, Tsing Hui directly ended his cultivation and headed towards the Hiza Chamber of Commerce. When he arrived at the Hiza Chamber of Commerce, he summoned someone. Call your vice president, Long Yufeng, out. Is this how they treat their guests? Prince Tsing Hui. Very quickly, Long Yufeng appeared and led Tsing Hui to the VIP room. With an apologetic expression, he said, I'm really sorry, Prince Tsing Hui. Hyun Fan is our Hiza Chamber of Commerce's top guest. Our Hiza Chamber of Commerce can't refuse his request. So we had no choice but to leak your location. To put it simply, your Hiza Chamber of Commerce can't afford to offend Hyun Fan, so you leaked my location. Long Yufeng tried his best to make himself sound more sincere. Our Hiza Chamber of Commerce has some backing, but compared to Hyun Fan, we're still lacking. Businessmen have always paid attention to harmony and wealth. If Hyun Fan really wants to find trouble with our Hisa Chamber of Commerce in the future, our Hisa Chamber of Commerce will definitely have endless troubles in the future. Therefore, we hope that Prince Tsing-hui can understand. We've already applied to the president. For this auction, our Chamber of Commerce will not charge a single processing fee and will handle it for Prince Tsing-hui for free. I hope there won't be a second time. After Tsing-hui finished speaking, he turned around and left. After Tsing-hui left, Long Yufeng frowned and a trace of anger flashed in his eyes. President, he's just a small true chi cultivator. Is there a need to apologize? We've already investigated clearly. His backing is at most the North Sea city of the Dragon Whale Island. The Lord of North Sea City is called Dan Tating, a peak spirit refining cultivator. With this kind of cultivation, he might be considered a top figure on the Dragon Whale Island, but our Hisa Chamber of Commerce has no need to be afraid of him. That's the corpse of a rank 4 half-holy beast. If we have a good refining method, we'll definitely be able to refine some sacred beast blood. Sacred beast blood can't be compared to sacred beast blood essence, but its value is comparable to a rank 4 divine weapon. Why don't we, behind Long Yufeng, a young man who looked to be in his 20s stepped forward and said with a displeased expression. Shut up. Before the man finished speaking, he was interrupted by Long Yufeng. Our Hisa Chamber of Commerce has been in business for hundreds of years to have the reputation we have today. Do you want to destroy the reputation we've accumulated over so many years just for the corpse of a half-holy beast? He was very clear about the benefits a good reputation could bring, whether it was on the surface or in private. The man trembled and did not dare to reply. Do your best to advertise. Not only do we have to do this, we have to do it well. Let everyone in Shaoyangsi City know that as long as it's something entrusted to our Hisa Chamber of Commerce, we, the Hisa Chamber of Commerce, will definitely do our best. Yes. The man replied with some grievance and quickly retreated. After reprimanding the man, Long Yufeng immediately went into the depths of the Chamber of Commerce. There, the president of the Hisa Chamber of Commerce, Guza, was chatting with a woman whose aura was similar to his with a smile on their faces. This woman looked to be in her 30s. She wore a translucent gauze dress that revealed her delicate snow-white skin. Her voluptuous figure was filled with a mature and charming seduction. However, there was a calm and pure smile on her pretty face, which made people have the impulse to step forward and tear off the disguise on her body to thoroughly examine her. President, Lady Yuzhen. Long Yufeng's gaze swept across the woman's body. He immediately lowered his head and did not dare to look at her again, afraid that he would lose his composure. How is it? Just now, Hyun Fan has come to force Tsing-hui. I have already sent people to spread the news. If something really happens to Tsing-hui at this time, everyone will think that Hyun Fan did it. Well done. However, in Shaoyangsi City, we still have to follow the rules of the Ten Sha of Gojoseon. Otherwise, if we anger the Ten Sha of Gojoseon, the consequences will be severe. Therefore, let the bidding continue as normal and pay attention to Hyun Fan's whereabouts. This subordinate understands. It's not the first time. I believe you understand the specific operation. Go. Long Yufeng couldn't help but recall the last time they used a similar method to snatch the essence of the Great Sun and the reward the president bestowed upon them. Immediately, his heart warmed and he hurriedly replied, yes, this subordinate will personally supervise this matter. I definitely won't allow any problems to occur. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.